Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Dantak.
Hello, sir.
And Javy Gwaltney.
Hey.
You know what this is, Dantak?
Is this a real big show?
This is a really big show. One of the biggest of the year, I would argue. Very exciting show overall.
I agree.
Why is it so big?
Because we can talk about something that happened surprisingly recently for us, because this is a quick turnaround for Dantak right in this story.
Whoa.
Yeah, but this is Black Ops 4, our new cover story. This is what we were teasing last week.
And more specifically,
yes,
forget Black Ops 4. It's Blackout in Black Ops 4.
Blackout, which is the Battle Royale mode within Black Ops 4, which is kind of the whole kit and caboodle for the cover story you wrote, Dan,
absolutely.
right?
Like, you know, when we went to Treyarch and we got to see the sites.
Yeah.
And, you know, in wrapping my head around what we saw, I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, this story has to be just about Blackout.
There's a lot to
There's
digest.
so much.
Yes.
Yeah, so that story is 100% Blackout.
Perfect. And we're going to talk about playing it in a little bit here. I'd imagine some people are like, Call of Duty, meh. Battle Royale, meh. That audience might be out there.
I have read the comments on the internet, yes.
Exactly. I just want to emphasize, like, one of the biggest series in the world, tackling the biggest genre in the world. Like, there is a lot of meat to dive into here, so I'm sorry if we get very specific, but I think some people might be watching or listening to this for the first time. We should get specific.
I agree.
But later on in the show, just to make up for that, we're going to have some fun. Some good old-fashioned fun.
Wait. This is going to be fun. This is
we're
great.
going to have fun no matter what. It's all going to be great. But Kyle and Reiner are going to be joining us to talk about Spider-Man.
Oh.
Reiner is gaga over this game, believe it or not. We'll talk all about it. Also about Reiner's interview with Sir Todd Howard, Mr. God Howard, as the internet knows him. Talking about Fallout 76. Hopefully some details there. Then, Dan, you're going to come back kicking and screaming.
Coming back.
Talk about PAX.
Yeah.
Dantak's PAX.
One of my favorite shows.
Perfect.
And this one was cool. You'll find out later.
But Dan wants to talk about Artifact a lot.
Yep.
Also, some other stuff there. A little bit about Destiny 2 Forsaken with Suriel Vasquez. We're going to have Matt Miller on hopefully next week to really dive in deep. But this is a big
you weren't
show,
kidding.
man.
This is actually like hours of content.
It really is.
Are we really doing this? All right.
Leo might chime in with a couple things about a certain grim sky. Then community emails. Then back half of the show, not only did we go to LA for Treyarch this month, but Ben Reeves and I traveled to Rochester, New York.
That's right.
For another a little more intellectual, more sophisticated trip. Not that Call of Duty isn't intellectual, but we went to the Strong Museum, the Museum of Play over there, which is an amazing museum that's dedicated to fun and play and everything good under the sun. But they have like video game archives and pinball archives, overall game archives that are incredible. And we got like a behind the scenes tour, reason I dove in deep. And so back half of the show, we're going to be showing an interview with Jeremy Saucier, who's the Assistant Vice President for Interpretation and Electronic Games, talking about how you make a museum dedicated to the concept of play. And like they have certain objects in their toy Hall of Fame, which are very funny.
Okay.
That you would not expect. But it's like, well, yeah, of course, that is one of the greatest toys of all time. You would never guess what it is.
Slinky?
Dantak.
Is it a mace? A flail?
Is it a slinky?
Okay, we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Think of other things you like to play with. Okay. Call of Duty Black Ops 4, specifically Blackout.
Yes.
We went out to Treyarch. We played it for over 2 hours.
It was over 2 hours.
Yeah.
They let us go longer than they originally said, which is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And so all month long, we're rolling out features at GameInformer.com/BlackOps4, the number 4, talking about everything you could really want to know about this thing, because the beta is coming soon. It's September 10th.
Yes.
But every day up until September 10th, we're rolling out features, diving into the vehicles, how zombies work on the map. There's a ton of specifics because it's a fascinating topic. Broad overview. Javy Gwaltney, walking in and playing it, set the mood. What was the stage like where we played this, and what was the vibe?
At Treyarch, they have this room that looks like the War Room from Doctor Strange, if you've ever seen that motion picture.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in the rapid fire interview that we posted on Tuesday.
Yeah, so it's a big conference-y kind of room, and there were, I think it was, 6 computers on each side? 5, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was the 3 of us and the developers there, like David Von Haar?
Von der Haar?
Yeah. The studio design director was playing with us. Dan Bunting was playing with us. Some of the community guys were playing with us. And we loaded into the map.
Hang on, just zooming out a little bit more. We were playing with a total of 80 people.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Is one of those crazy things. Like, they weren't all in-house at Treyarch. Like, specifically, they were in testing facilities, strangely enough, back in Minneapolis, where we're based.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what they said.
they
Yeah,
did.
because they have an Activision headquarters.
So why did we go out there?
I know, we could have just played from there.
Just played it
It's so
here.
weird to think people were playing Blackout in Minneapolis. But yeah, we had a full full map of 80 players, which is where the beta is going to launch.
Where
that
the beta
number might
launch.
be flexible later on. They said they tested it with over 100 even internally.
Given what they were saying, assuming the beta goes well, I'm pretty sure we're going to see that number jump up. That's basically the implication I think we received.
Okay, but JV, impressions. Broad impressions first.
Yeah, I liked it. I think we got off to a strong start when David and Dan Tack here, when we were falling in, because immediately you open up and you're not jumping out of a bus or a plane, you're jumping out of a helicopter. A
squad of helicopters, yeah.
Of choppers. And so David and Dan died immediately. Like, they slapped the earth, and I had to go revive them.
Well, I mean, we can talk about that for a second. But first, before we get into this, and we get into the meat of the cover story, the cover story has tons more details than this.
Yes.
So if you get interested in this at all, I suggest you check it out before the beta hits.
Okay, and again, zooming out even further, I feel like we need to set the baseline. I was surprised. I think building up to this, we're like, well, it's Black Ops doing Blackout, Battle Royale. I think we're all feeling pretty optimistic about this thing. We think it can possibly be huge. I was kind of surprised it didn't make more of a splash on Tuesday with the cover reveal, where it's like, I don't think people are excited as they should be about this game.
And why do you think that is?
I
think it's because it's Call of Duty again, and people have franchise
There's definitely
fatigue?
franchise fatigue.
It's franchise fatigue combined with there's a certain trend on the internet, which I don't understand fully, of like F Battle Royale. I'm already sick of Battle Royale. There's already 2 popular games in this genre. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't understand that, but I think that's out there. And I think it combines with Call of Duty, where people are like, okay, maybe if it's good, I'll check it out. But I left very optimistic about that thing.
Yeah,
Dan,
I would say
at?
that I was curious. I don't know if I was optimistic actually going in. I didn't know what it was going to look like. Certainly, upon leaving, I'm very hyped for it. I'm absolutely going to be playing it. Like, there's no doubt about it. It's going to be my new Battle Royale game.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Based on our play session, absolutely.
It is, and again, just zooming out even further, I mean, it is super duper PUBG. A lot of people might think like, okay, trying to catch onto the Fortnite bandwagon. No, they were trying to catch onto the PUBG bandwagon last year.
If I was going to attach it to being more similar to one of those products, then yes, obviously.
I mean, it's not a stretch though. It feels very PUBG. It feels like a good first-person.
Many of the core components do have analogs, but there's plenty different about it.
Oh, absolutely. We'll dive into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's this whole you still can't deny that there's this whole sort of audience for PUBG that just wants something that doesn't play like a rickety prototype. And that is what Blackout is. Like, that is, I know Blackout's different, and we're going to get into that, why it's a bit different. But
eventually we'll talk about this game.
Yeah. My takeaway is it's stable PUBG. It's the stable PUBG I've wanted.
Well, specifically on consoles. Like, I have a great time playing PUBG
I don't have
on
any
PC.
I feel like the whole PUBG doesn't work is
totally
amazingly overblown if we're talking about the PC. If you're on Xbox, I don't play that. I don't know anything about it. But on PC, I haven't had problems since 1.0.
But I think that console crowd that wants a great playing Battle Royale that isn't Fortnite, this is going to eat that crowd up. This seems like the perfect alignment.
There's a lot to offer here, and if people can say, hey, just because it's Call of Duty doesn't mean it's this thing. This is a new thing. I know.
Yeah.
I know the whole yada yada. Call of Duty is the same every year, and it's literally not. And I know people are upset about the campaign going.
Yep.
This is a big deal. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, just because we saw the response of people are having franchise fatigue or whatever, you guys see the numbers at the end of the year for Call of Duty. It has a huge built-in audience. It always does well. It's always at the top.
And we'll see, how that correlates with the lack of a campaign and all that. But I truly think that once people get their hands on this and play it,
I think if the beta gets out of the gate well, I think it's going to turn a lot of people around. And again, what we played, they said, was largely the same experience as they're planning for the beta. But still not one-to-one. And technically, we don't know how the beta is going to perform. There's still some time from the build that we played versus that, so take everything with a grain of salt. We don't know how it's going to get out of the gate and all that stuff. But I was just amazed. You always
wonder. Are we going to talk about the game now?
Oh yeah, just setting the table a little bit more before we dive in.
We're really
here.
getting this table
set. It's a full Thanksgiving meal we have to get through, Dan.
That's fair. That's fair.
Be our guest, Dan.
But I'm just amazed by the excitement within the halls of Treyarch for this mode specifically. It's kind of a PR-y thing, but every once in a while they would say we haven't felt this much excitement. Actually, it's like creating zombies mode.
That's something I want to address real quick.
Yeah.
In a PR-y thing. Oftentimes you go to a demo, it's a very choreographed experience designed to show you what they want to show you about the game. You can't do that in a Battle Royale.
Yeah.
You don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Yes.
Nobody there was pulling any punches, I assure you. People like letting me live through any kind of situation. It was a full-on, as chaotic and enjoyable as a Battle Royale game
It's a sandbox, and it felt like a sandbox, and it was just crazy to feel that level of playful fun, experimentation tension in a studio with a Call of Duty's multiplayer. It was wild. It was so much fun.
Yeah, no, it was fun seeing like the beefs come out between some of those developers where it was like, I'm going to get you this time. Yeah, it was real good.
And it was super fun like playing because I was in a squad with like Dan Bunting and Matt Sconce, who's a designer over there. But we were on one side of the room. You guys were with, Matt, David Von der Haar and whatnot.
Lord Von.
Lord Von der Haar on the one side of the room. And it was so much fun just being in a battle royale. We were squatted up. You can play solo. You can play duos.
And you can do quads.
There we go.
Yeah.
So we were playing quads. And so just playing this game and then just realizing like, wait a minute, our banter is lining up with that team's banter where we're like, who the hell is in that diner over there? Take them out. They're on the left. And then I hear you guys like, who's on the hill up there?
Yep.
And then realizing like, oh my God, we're going up against each other on this relatively big map. This is wild. That was the real thrill, is finding out when we were actually dueling each other.
Which actually happened pretty frequently.
Yep.
But because your guys were listening to where we were dropping and then jumping.
How dare you, sir? That did not happen.
It's totally dead.
But there was a great moment too. I think one of the early games, Miles, the designer, and Matt Sconce, the designer, they were the last two alive.
That was an epic game.
Yeah,
it was
we should talk
amazing.
about that game once we talk about the actual basics of gameplay and other things first, don't you? Or do you want to just dive right in?
Let's dive in because I think you can demonstrate it through what happened here.
Okay,
So it came down to 1v1, tiny circle, obviously.
As a battle royale often does.
On a
Yes.
hill.
On a hill.
On a hill.
Everybody hiding in the grass. We've seen this situation before.
And Matt Sconce did the diabolical move of whipping out the RC car.
Right. So
the Blackout RC car, or the Black Ops RC. Or
the reconnaissance bot.
Yes.
So this allows you to, I don't think this is in any other battle royale, any form really. Several different ways to scout, but nothing like this, nothing as specific.
Yeah.
You get to drive the little recon car, and it gives you vision. So obviously you're vulnerable while you're doing this because you're taking vision of the car, but you can just sort of drive it around in third person and check out the scenery.
You can't blow it up, but...
Right. It's not a weapon in itself, but when you're in that final circle and you're just trying to find out where the other guy's hiding so you can pop him, it's very, very powerful, as we found.
Right.
So what he did was locate the other individual and sort of just stop the car and quietly flashbang that area and then, mop him up. That's what happened.
And then our team won because of it.
It was very
wonderful.
intense. It was very intense. It was an intense moment. It was a battle royale moment. All right, if I want to call it one of those. And then you start, the car itself is really interesting because you can combine it with many other tools on the map. Like you can stick a sensor dart into it to create like a mobile, ping network for your radar.
Oh, yeah.
Or put it on I don't know what you could do with it if you put it on a chopper, but you could put it on a chopper.
Yeah, that's true. Or they even mentioned putting it on a boat, going down the river,
Yep.
and then driving it off onto the shore. And they mentioned Rivertown, which is kind of the center of the map.
Because Rivertown is completely isolated. The only spot on the map that is completely surrounded by water.
Right.
Yes.
And so I forget if it was Miles, some designer over at Treyarch was talking about scouting out one side of the island with the RC car with the sensor thing, while then they were flushing from the other side. Just those little tactical maneuvers you can do with this thing. It's going to be really fun to watch.
That's one of the coolest things. But we're deep in the weeds now.
Hell yeah.
We haven't even talked about the game at all. But stuff you can do, the applications I found very fascinating of objects that are in multiplayer as they portray a battle royale, like the sensor dart. Obviously, in multiplayer, you just throw that thing out. You're like, okay, we got UAV pings. All right, cool. I know that guy's around the corner. I'm going to shoot him. Here, you can attach that to a chopper. You can attach it to a car. You can prepare a final house to you'll know exactly when they enter the bottom floor and then just, throw a grenade down there or something. Lots of interesting applications for old tools.
Yes.
Or more common tools.
Yeah, that's
things we know how to use already.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't expecting to work so well that did work really well was they have a huge emphasis on, okay, we're taking the stuff from Call of Duty multiplayer and adapting it to Blackout in ways that seem really cool, like that, and also the perks. That's another big difference is you get the sort of power-ups, but you have to pop them and they're limited time. They're not things that stay on you the entire time.
Right, because that would be crazy, right?
Yeah.
You could just get
But it's stuff
overpowered.
like, if you haven't played Call of Duty, it's stuff like you can silence your footsteps, you can, aim faster, move the gun faster, stuff like that.
And so some of those carry over directly from multiplayer, and it was
Some
kind of
do.
fun seeing
Although
it turns out
they have been changed a little bit
Right.
for the format. But yes.
But there's other stuff like Looter, which lets you see through walls apparently, and there's a perk, I forget the name of it, where you can survive outside the circle for longer.
Looter lets you see
Outlander.
loot through walls. Yes, and Outlander lets you survive outside the circle, so you can kind of hunt people from out there.
And the circle is very PUBG. They have, as they call it, a Black Ops twist, where
They do.
as the circle gets smaller and smaller, in theory, it gets more intense, and they have this interesting filter going over it.
It does have some more interesting some other characteristics that are not found in all battle royales, where we destroy things outside of the circle.
Right.
So you can't sort of try to like hoard items and stuff outside of the circle and come in with it, or try to use vehicles. Vehicles will malfunction outside of the circle if you're trying to skirt the edge and sort of abuse that.
So keeping a helicopter in a tiny circle towards the end will be very tricky. You'll be a sitting duck, basically.
I think they said it was impossible, like in the build.
They said you could try, but it's a big risk.
Yeah.
And, and again, it's very, very Black Ops-y, very Treyarch-y in the fact that the closer the heart of the circle comes in, the more aberrations that you will see if you stay outside the circle. You will not get clear information on what's actually in the circle. You'll see hallucinations. You'll have auditory and visual hallucinations.
Your characters are kind of like dusty and floaty and trippy looking.
The characters inside the circle.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the whole mind-bendy kind of thing. So they got that in there. A little flavor.
Yeah, they got that flavor in there. But we kind of danced around a little bit. But vehicles in Call of Duty multiplayer.
Huge.
Coming back since it's been a while.
I am... Of all of the aspects of this, I enjoyed many of them, but the vehicles were great. All right, flying around that chopper, it's intuitive, it's awesome, it's a cool risk-reward balance they have with every vehicle. I absolutely can't wait to get on more vehicles. Like, that's my priority.
Yeah, and there's fun stuff you can do. We didn't try it because we're not that good or smart, but they described later on, like, you can do some wild stuff. Like, if you're flying solo with the chopper, even, like, to scout people out for the rest of your squad and whatnot, you can do stuff like hot swap between seats. You can jump into the side, snipe folks, and then jump back to pilot the helicopter again before it crashes.
That's all very theoretical, yes. Because it's going to end badly, right? You're going to hit a tree or something while you try to get that perfect snipe from
Right. But the helicopter overall, I found it surprisingly easy to fly.
It was very, like, first time in there. I didn't kill anybody, so that's a huge plus. I landed it safely. That's amazing.
I did some pretty sweet stuff where I flew it over to the dam area and then jumped out, used my wingsuit, which we can talk about later.
We need to talk about
wingsuited away as the helicopter was crashing into the dam and exploding. It's like, this is a cool thing in a Call of Duty multiplayer match here.
Yeah, and we didn't have any, but I would have loved to have had like a multi-helicopter engagement.
Oh, a battle.
That would have just been insane.
Yeah, Matt Sconce, the designer over there, again, coming up a lot. But when we asked him about like the craziest moment he's had so far in testing the game, because they're playing it all day, every day, he talked about like a 3-way helicopter fight towards the end of the match was just absurdly fun.
And I can imagine.
Yeah.
So along with the vehicles, like the wingsuiting is a big shift from other BRs, because you basically have intense mobility everywhere, especially from a vertical position on the map. You can,
as Vaughn put it, it's very Batman to just like be on the top of the skyscraper, which is like under construction on the map, and then just jump off, float away at any point. Like any tall place, if you just hold jump. Then you'll whip out your wingsuit, which is how you will get down to the ground after you parachute in for a little bit. Yeah.
You wingsuit immediately, and then you parachute at the very end.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's flipped. Yeah, you're totally right. Did you guys use the wingsuit much outside of just landing?
I tried, but it can. I wasn't quite up on it. I didn't want to risk it again after I had a couple of failed entries.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. It's a very cool mechanic that you can tell is going to be a big skill-based factor in that game, where people are wingsuit assaulting each other from high vantage points.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Just the mobility overall, I didn't expect. And even adding on to that, then you can get Ruin's grapple gun.
Oh, of course. That's fantastic.
That's an item that you have to find. You can only use it 5 times. But the combination of like all these vehicles, wingsuit, using the grappling gun.
So it's not just Ruin's. Everybody's ability, like a lot of different abilities are in there, including Ruin's grapple gun.
Yeah, which is the most exciting one I saw.
Yeah, no,
that's a fun one.
It was super cool. I remember getting that early and then shooting through the forest, attaching to trees to avoid enemy fire. It was super cool. Like just the tactical ways you can use these items and also have them look really cool at the same time.
Yeah,
it's real
for
good.
sure. The other vehicles, ATV, cargo truck.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Which sounds boring, but it's actually really cool.
No, it's super interesting. So
Yeah.
non-traditional seating, so you can crouch and prone on the back of that puppy.
Yep.
Right? That's a big deal. And of course, more importantly, especially when you're playing with a squad, you can load that bad boy up with stuff for every situation. So you got 2 weapon slots. You don't want to have an RPG in your main weapon slot if you're going house to house with, in a shotgun situation where you're going to blow yourself up. There is friendly fire, there is self-damage. So those are things you got to take in mind. So, but you're like, well, if I run into a chopper, oh, well, good thing I took up an RPG on the back of the truck. That chopper's going down right now, right?
So in theory, your squad is going to be rolling around with a cargo truck just filled with goodies.
Exactly.
That the other team can steal if they want to.
This is a best case scenario situation where you guys have a truck and it's loaded up with goods. Yes.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen every time. Sometimes you're just going to use it to run people over.
But it's also a very put all your eggs in one basket sort of thing. Like another thing Vaughn said was, we don't make it hard for vehicles to blow up in Blackout.
And that's true.
Yeah, it feels like one rocket launcher or grenade, like your whole stash is gone.
No, I didn't have this problem, but I heard that a cargo truck really did some damage on you at some point.
I mean, it ran us over.
No, it didn't kill Dan. It killed
It did not kill me.
Miles.
I was killed by the cleanup crew.
It was astonishing to watch, though, because we were spectating because we were dead.
Because from
I
my
had
vantage
died.
point,
I walked into a bullet. And so...
I got to see Miles get run over right in front of me, and then I was killed.
No, it was horrific. His body got dragged by the truck.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, I'm excited for
We
that.
didn't
But
see it
it was a
coming.
battering ram. They used the cargo truck as a battering ram to kill Miles.
We were really close to the final circle at that point, by the way.
I believe you. Also, real quick note on the vehicles. I was a little bit thrown at first because it's not like hold R2 or whatever. We were playing on PS4s, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's not.
PS4 Pros.
There we go, specifically. But it's not hold R2 to accelerate on these vehicles. Like for the driving vehicles in particular, it's feels a little bit more warthoggy, where like you're holding up because they want to mirror the movement controls for your character with the vehicles. So there's that moment of like, wait, how am I steering and driving this thing? But it's okay, all analog based.
They were very intuitive.
Yeah.
The vehicles very intuitive, and they're very fun. Very fun.
Yeah.
I want to go back in the chopper right now.
Okay, the overall the map. It was hillier than I thought. It was a lot more flowers than I thought.
There are lots of elevated points, so you're going to get lots of battle royale situations, long range snipe opportunities. Really depending on your play style, because even though we did have plenty of hills and vantage points that you could shoot and snipe people from, there were lots of interior conflicts as well.
Yeah.
Where shotguns and other close range weapons would be more appropriate.
A lot of warehouses, like like the big warehouses in PUBG. These have like giant doors on the front that you can slowly open up and whatnot if you want. But there's a lot of fights in those.
It's real interesting to think. The more I think about Blackout's map, because at first I was like, this is kind of fan servicey because it's presented as like a weird theme park sort of history, nod to the legacy of Black Ops. But the more I thought about it, it's like, well, PUBG's interiors all suck. They all look kind of bad. Fortnite's interiors are all like rehashed sort of assets. These feel like unique places that you are going to. Like it feels like the most diverse sort of like battle royale experience.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as Disneyland as you would think because things are so spaced out.
Yeah, it doesn't. It has the concept of like, oh, you're going to all these locations that are remixed like multiplayer maps and and like maps from zombies, but they've been built on that. It's not just like, oh, I'm playing this map from like 5 years ago.
Right.
Like it just takes that concept of that map and turns it into a structure.
At some point when we first got on the map, we're going for a quick tour and we're in a cargo truck, and Dan Bunting, the co-studio head at Treyarch, he was like giving me the tour, and it was very funny. He's like, on the left, you'll see the map Raid. And as we keep going along this path, it's like, let's go for a tour of Black Ops history.
That's excellent. Yeah. And one thing now that I've had a chance to like digest it and think about it a lot more, I do feel like the map locations are very distinct in terms of I have a particular play style. This is a place that I'm probably going to want to hang out if I want to get kills. Like if I'm a sniper, I probably don't want to go, to the hedge maze outside the asylum. That's probably not a really great place for me. Because not only are zombies likely to be there, but it's just really tight and constrained. So if I'm a shotgun player, I probably want to be there.
Yeah. There's fun stuff like Nuketown is an island.
Yes,
now,
it is.
Which has like a whole system underneath that's like flooded. It's very bizarre.
The nuke has gone off. And there are bunkers below with the mannequins who have survived again.
Of course.
And there's a sign that lets you know how many players are in the surrounding vicinity,
which
is
my favorite
so
thing.
cool.
There's literally like a population sign on the island, and so if you look at it, it'll change based on how many players are currently on the island. Like no BS. There'll be like, if it says 5, it's like, okay, we're not alone here, boys.
Right.
Like I love that
handy.
idea.
Very
it's
useful,
super fun.
and interesting in that location because there was a lot of loot. I was able to loot the entire bunker myself one game, and man, I came out of there packed.
Yeah, I feel like my favorite moments that came from this particular version of Battle Royale were sort of like reminiscent of those horror movie moments when you realize, oh, you're not alone. Like in the skyscraper, for example, I popped, Skulker, the perk that lets you move silently, and I could hear below me 2 players moving around, and it took me a minute to realize, oh, those aren't my teammates. And it's just moments like that where everything that follows is super tense, and I feel like Blackout does a better job of that than like PUBG for me.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think it does it for me.
It hits the tension of PUBG, which is what I want from Battle Royale games, and I don't really get that from Fortnite necessarily. But
oh God, no, I've never had that with Fortnite.
Well, I think some people.
No, I'm just saying I haven't. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
The other things to mention, maybe the most fun outside of shooting each other. There is a basketball court.
There is.
In the Estates area, as a reference to an old Black Ops 2 map. Yeah, so you can actually pick up the basketball
you can
shoot
hoops. And there are other areas where there are items you can interact with too, although we didn't get to see any explicitly.
There's a pool table in the stronghold area, they said, but I don't think you can sink the balls.
I saw
in the
a pool table
pockets
in the bunker in Nuketown.
Yeah, they kept teasing like.
But I didn't. I
multiple
tried to
things.
interact with them and it didn't work.
Okay,
But there are other things. They told us there are.
There is like an array area, a reference to that map, where there's like loudspeakers you can turn on and off with different switches if you want to mess with that stuff.
Yeah.
Overall, though, the map, it's big.
It is
Like,
big.
1,500 Nuketowns.
Whatever that means. My impression, though, like especially in the helicopter or when you're coming in with the choppers in the beginning, it was like it's a little bit smaller than I was expecting.
Yeah.
It's much more, and even they said this, it's not 1-to-1, but it feels more like a 4x4 PUBG map compared to an 8x8. So expect that type of feel.
Right, but not a 1-to-1. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it more. I feel like I don't want to be traversing like just long terrains for like I feel like that Blackout has a good sort of like balance between like, okay, here's some spaces that you traverse for a bit and here's enemy engagement.
Yeah, I think Vaughn even at some point said like, in terms of like how many vehicles we give it you and how much you'll be running across the map on foot, he said it's not Miramar. So for a PUBG reference.
That was the thing that was said, yes.
Yes.
And Miramar, as anyone who's played it knows, you don't have a car on that map. Sometimes you're going to be running for a long time.
haul. And I think they said from like estates up top to whatever is
They
at
did. They
the
gave us a
southern part of the
figure.
map.
It's in the story. I don't know what point to point it was, but it's 5 minutes basically.
5 minute
from the
run,
2 points.
roughly.
5 minute sprint.
Sprint.
Right. So that's important to note. Not a walk.
Yeah.
But you have to be sprinting the whole
Which
time.
doesn't make it sound that big, but the map I think is big enough. I
It
don't
is,
think you'll
it
be
is.
disappointed.
I think
by the
I think I
size
did
of
see
it.
some concerns on the internet that it was going to be too small. I'd like to allay those. It's perfectly sized for the. Yeah, it's good. The size is good.
Yeah.
And it was interesting talking to them. Hopefully we'll pull out some quotes later on in the month, but talking to them just about designing the map and how they rebooted it 3 times because they kept over designing it, and they just had to like let go of a lot of Call of Duty design instincts for multiplayer maps and just say like, we need some downtime, we need some down area where it's just hills where you guys can have your own fun. But they were too meticulous, and just realized like, okay, we'll put some hotspots in here, but the key to a good battle royale map is like sometimes there's just hills for a while. It's fine.
And we're talking mad changes, mad iteration. Like they used to have craftables. You used to have to build those abilities, which is I'm so glad that's not a thing.
No,
Like,
that would be awful.
finding pieces and putting them together. It's like ugh.
Yeah, even like when they got out of the gate and announced Blackout, and eventually in that video, remember the camera pulls out and it shows like the yellow dots all over the map and stuff.
Yes.
That's not the layout of the map anymore. It's even changed since that, which is fun to look back at because that wasn't that long ago, I don't think.
No, it really. I mean, in the time span for like game development, that was like a blip, right?
Right.
So
which kind of ties into a larger theme of they even emphasize like we're still very much designing Blackout.
yeah.
This is
and you can tell they're designing it hard though. This is where the big guns are, right? This is where this game is happening at this point.
right at this point in the process. They are still trying to lock down a lot of these details for Blackout.
And I feel like that's kind of going to be the case after release too. Like the nature of that conversation was like, this game is a living thing that we are going to negotiate with our community.
Yeah.
Of how it changes in the year or years to come.
And let's talk about something that I thought was pretty interesting and pretty different for a battle royale. And that's the inclusion of AI.
Yeah.
Oh
inside
yeah.
the map. We haven't talked about the zombies yet.
That's true.
I was like, all right, you're adding zombies to this? No, you gotta be kidding me. Come on, that's not about
Because their pitch is like, why are there zombies? It's Black Ops. It's like, okay, well,
I mean, I guess it makes sense in those terms, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
But I also like how they're implemented as sort of a risk reward tension building tool, just like a supply drop or something else to fight over. They fill the same role. Only even more fun because they're annoying and they interfere with the combat at the same time as being that proposition of loot.
And so it's like, a loot crate or something, loot drop in PUBG where you'll see like a beacon of light. And so okay, in this area there's going to be zombies.
There's going to be a zombie supply stash, the
which
mystery
is gonna
box
be
equivalent.
a great treasure chest, but at the same time you'll have to take out 5 to 8 zombies and they'll make a lot of noise.
Not
when
all,
they're
yeah.
there.
So comparing it to zombies mode, these zombies are not going to be a real threat unless you're also engaged and occupied with enemies at the same
Yeah,
time.
they said
Right.
like 5 to 8, right?
Yeah, it's like 5 to 8. I think that's what they said. And it's if you're alone, it's a very small number. They're not vicious zombies like in the other mode. They're just like, hello.
Their big danger is that they're a dinner bell if you engage with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it is a fun dynamic. And as they put it, like anything that brings players together for conflict, like this type of thing, it's good. And Vaughn at some point even said, like, right now we have zombies, and he said there's opportunities for other types of AI in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like,
But
what
we
does
didn't.
that mean?
Unfortunately, we couldn't get anything more.
I just want a megalodon to like burst up through that lake.
Is it too much to ask and just do the opening of Fallen Kingdom where it bites the helicopter? Just please.
Yes.
But zombies, it's interesting. It's also weird that like the map is only in the daytime right now, And it's just fun seeing like those zombies locations, but like in broad daylight.
Yeah, I thought it'd be wacky
still pretty
and weird,
creepy.
but it's still creepy. It's creepy to see like the light break through the cracks and like the roof and stuff.
Yeah.
Like and walking around with like corpses around you. It's still unnerving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those areas are still creepy. Those zombies areas are still creepy.
Yeah, for sure. What else stood out to you guys?
Oh, gosh.
Items in general, they said, we're constantly going to be trying to fill your inventory. You use a
there
item
is a
management.
backpack. There is a backpack. That's all you get. There's one size fits all.
Yes, and you're using the D-pad to navigate this, to loot corpses, everything like that. And so it's a pretty quick...
It's extremely quick.
Yeah.
So when you kill another player, you don't have to like pick up each item individually. You get to loot through their sack, and everything is organized. So once you kill a few people, you'll understand all the healing items are going to be at the end. The weapons are going to be up front. You know exactly where to scroll through and grab everything you want.
We should probably talk about the progression system a little bit.
Oh, Lord.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's basically, it seems to hinge on the idea of that you will want to unlock character skins and models throughout Black Ops and the zombie series.
That's correct.
To do that, like you have to get a quest. And the way you get a quest is you find an item out in the world that's tied to a character somehow. So, for example, a zombie character like Richtofen, right?
Well, doesn't he have multiple? Isn't he one of the more advanced unlocks?
Yeah. But just like, for example, you have a character like that. So you have to go to a zombie's location to find an item tied to him. And then you get the item, and usually it has a quest tied to it that you have to do. Like, maybe for him, it's... This isn't official. Maybe for him, it's like kill a certain amount of zombies or kill zombies in a certain way.
I bet for him, it's actually going to be ridiculous. He's probably one of the harder unlocks.
Right. No, I just mean
for the base. Let's talk about the base tier unlocks, because we don't know what the multi-mission icons are so-called, like Mason and Richtofen and Woods and some of the other big guys. They have multi-chain quests that are much more complex.
And you say quest. I mean, it's just
Let's
objectives.
just call it quests.
Let's just go do the thing.
Okay, let's do the. We'll call it Call of Duty missions. All right.
Yeah.
But basically,
we'll get the intel and go do the mission.
Characters like Battery, right?
Yes, Battery.
From multiplayer.
Battery is the most easiest example here.
Yes, that's
you
what they laid
You find
out.
War Machine, which is a pretty rare item in a map under normal conditions.
Her
right?
gun.
That's a very powerful weapon and have limited ammo. Find the gun, kill a few people with it, and then place in the top 15.
Yeah.
Simple.
Right.
Easy peasy. You get Battery.
As their pitch is, it's like, hey, you pick up the item, you act like the character would act, and then you get to unlock that character, which is interesting in a battle royale. I think it's pretty novel.
But it's going to be variable for a lot of them. Like especially, like I said, the more desirable, like Richtofen is probably going to be really hard.
Yeah, I really don't like the idea. I need to see it in action, but just that whole concept of like, oh, I went and did all this bullshit. Like I found the item in the first place, and then I did the thing, but like I got, I was 17th instead of 15th, so I don't get
That's fine with me.
the character unlock. That seems like nonsense. But to be fair, they did say, if that's what we hear from the community, we'll dial it back, which I feel like is a good compromise.
I think on the characters like Battery and Specialist and whatever, the standard zombie cast, that's fine. But I think as a player, you want to have something to chase, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't require monetization or purchase, some cool skin you can unlock. If you're in a battle with you're in the chopper, you're like, oh, Richtofen just dropped next to me. I'm not dropping next to that guy. He's really good because he's probably done some crazy stuff with like a ray gun. Get the final kill with a ray gun. I bet that's some lunatic like that for him. But yeah, I think there should be something to aspire to so that you do have a progression thing that doesn't offer any play rewards, right? It's just cosmetic. Right.
Yeah. And I'm curious and maybe more worried about just that race. If somebody sees the item, how much they're going to stab their teammates in the back to go grab it. You can also trade those items if you want to, but it's going to lead to some weird social dynamics where everyone's like, I want this quest item.
If I'm playing with my team, we're going to go for the win well over anything like stupid like that.
Don't play with JV.
Yeah, see that I don't play with JV.
What's that supposed to mean?
That's why I don't play with JV.
JV's not a great team player.
What did I do? I survived longer than any of you.
Well, one time we were playing with JV in the last round here, and we're playing with old Matt Sconce again, the designer of Treyarch, the best player in the room, the one who won the Battle Royale earlier, having a great time. Dan and I were out. It was JV and Sconce left in that squad. Here we go. Meanwhile, JV, as Sconce is just firing away, killing guys left and right, JV's in this little house. And he's talking about, oh, this looks like Breaking Bad.
They did.
As Matt Sconce dies then, and I say, hey, JV, go revive Sconce. Are you crazy? Go take care of it.
Right. So
and
he was
in the middle of zombie.
He was literally alone. He had killed the opponent. It was like a double kill situation.
100%.
He was down. So yes, you can pick up your teammates while they're down, similar to many other games. He bled out for like what? It had to have been like 5 minutes where JV was just sitting there doing nothing.
Time.
This is the longest bleed I've ever seen.
And Javy's meanwhile just going
He's
around looking
sitting there
at
screaming.
rocks and being like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll get to him. I guess I couldn't get to him in time.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
It was embarrassing.
It was.
In fact, I went back and checked the tape, Javy Gwaltney, from the time that I said, go save Matt, are you crazy? To you actually just slowly meandering over to revive the most valuable player on your team. It was 34 seconds for you to make that decision.
Oh, my God.
34 seconds. And if you want to hear it for yourself, we'll post it after the credits on this episode of the Game Informer Show, if you're okay with
Can
that,
we not
JV.
do that?
Nope, we're going to do it.
It's got to be done.
All right,
Yep,
cool.
let the world know what kind of teammate Javy Gwaltney is when playing with a great player
I'm the one
trailer.
who lives.
God, that's
gosh.
frustrating.
You didn't live. Were you going to win? It doesn't
I live
matter.
longer than you.
Well, look, that might be true, but that's neither
I
here
went
nor
out.
there.
I went out with a warm gun in my hand. All right.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah,
I think you just got shot in the face.
No, I mean I did, but I also killed somebody. Like I was in the. That was. I know the drop. We landed at Asylum. We were inside. There were zombies already active on the
That's
location.
true.
It was kind of a very frisky drop location. Let me tell you.
I know, and I got out of there like a smart person.
What, Dan, was your finest moment playing?
When you
Finest
got hit by
moment.
the truck.
Well,
No, that was
Javy
Miles.
would like it to be that. I was involved in a very early skirmish. You know, the sort of like you've hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
There's another person right there. You kind of look at each other and wonder what the hell's going to happen. So it was near a garage, right? And he was hitting me in the back with fists, and I could have turned and fought him. This was like a brutal beginning. We landed at it was not a named area. This was off the beaten path. But you guys dropped there anyway. So, because you weren't totally watching.
We
where
weren't
dropped.
Eavesdropping. Maybe somebody recommended it. Maybe they were. I don't know.
Because we all decided to go off location because we wanted a quieter drop, right? So there was not a whole lot of stuff around. People were. This was at least 8 people in the vicinity, and everybody was basically naked, punching each other.
Yeah.
So I opened up a garage door, and there was nothing in there but a thing of ammo and the old tomahawk, the throwing tomahawk. That's like a one-shot kill. So like he had me down to about half health, and I just turned around and just point blank that thing right into his head, and it was great.
Like, did you throw it or
That was one of your better players. I think it was your best player on your team.
Oh, really?
Or one of them.
Okay.
Did you throw it? In
Oh, it's a
Blackout?
throw. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to throw it.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it was actually really great. It was one of those great, like, oh God, super pressure. What am I going to do? I hope there's a gun in here. I hope he doesn't get the gun.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I got a tomahawk. I got one shot at this.
I feel like I found a gun every time we dropped.
I do
too.
want to talk about that briefly. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that you don't have as much trouble finding something to shoot.
Their quote was, the game is about finding items, not searching for items.
You're not going to have as much trouble finding something to shoot, but finding what you want to shoot with the right attachments, that can still be. You're still going to be hunting. You're still going to be always hunting for better stuff, but you're not going to be like, oh God, I don't have anything to shoot, unless you drop with 12 people at an off-base location and there's
But it's fine. Then you find a hatchet.
There was like a rocket launcher. Yeah, there was like a rocket launcher and a hatchet in that house. That was it. Everybody else is running around with fists.
That's perfect. Hey guys, turns out battle royales are fun.
Yeah, they're real fun.
I know. And I'm constantly puzzled by people who are like, yo, we have enough battle royale. We just got started, to be frank.
I mean, realistically, especially on PS4, I mean, this is going to be, if you don't like Fortnite, your best bet.
Yep.
And in theory,
For a while.
I think it could find a huge audience. Dan, you
I
said
do.
something to the effect of, I think PUBG's in trouble.
Wow. Well, yeah. Okay, that's on the table. Yeah, I agree. This if there's an analogous game, if there's a 1-to-1 game that's closer,
Yeah.
it's definitely that.
100%.
And this has a lot of the great things that I like from PUBG, and I love PUBG. For the record, everybody.
Mm-hmm. 9.5 says Dan Tag.
That's correct. That is what I scored it. I also scored Fortnite in 9.5. I must like battle royales.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I had a ton of fun playing this. I want to play more, and I think you're right. I think I'm right, and you quoting me.
I really made a great point when I quoted you there.
Isn't that? That's pretty good.
I think
Pretty good.
definitely in the console audience. I mean, I think it's a tough sell for the millions of people that have already purchased PUBG on PC, especially to say,
Right.
hey, pay $60, double the price, more than double at this point, and you can play another battle royale that also comes with Call of Duty multiplayer
And that really
zombies.
that really depends, since we're on the PUBG topic now. Like PUBG has gone through cycles of like being great to being not as great, and with their current initiative to try to, I don't know, they have some like fix PUBG initiative going on right now, right? Like as a big thing. And I mean, and we have not confirmed this because we haven't done it yet, but dedicated servers, uncapped frame rate. This thing could be a monster on PC as well.
Could be.
And of course Battle.net as the social platform. I mean,
having a battle royale on
that's
Battle.net.
a recipe.
Yeah.
That's a very good recipe. Let me tell you,
100%.
assuming it all shakes out as they say it is.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing in my mind is like, what is launch going to be like?
Well,
because
Launch
server
of any-
stuff are like
Yeah.
launch week.
Okay, that's a better estimate.
Yeah,
because
like
launch
what
day.
yeah, it's always launch day is always iffy, but like launch week, if they can nail that, I'm in the same camp of like, man, PUBG's in trouble.
I don't want to use this term where it's in trouble. I'd rather use the term where they're going to have to step their game up. How about that?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Healthy competition raises all the ships, something like that, right?
I don't know. I think on console, this mode, if done right at launch, could have a huge impact.
Well, from what we saw, what do you think?
I think so. I mean, I don't think it's to the point where PUBG should really be worried. I think they're definitely, like I said, there is that crowd, especially on PS4, that will want a battle royale that's not Fortnite, that plays well on console. If this thing comes out and it plays well, which it seems like it probably will, I think it's going to be a great battle royale option.
I think it's a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And I'm not shying away from that. It's got all the bells and whistles and the tools to be a great battle royale.
For sure. And as Vaughn said repeatedly, like releasing a game, if it's a football game, you're at the 50-yard line. And they plan on supporting this. They said you'll be sick of the updates. They're going to support this thing.
Right,
so
and as with all battle royales, right? These are living entities that change massively. Like look at Realm Royale. Like that goes from public favor to the super hated game within like 2 days based on changes.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty's community is already like lively to begin with, even outside of like the battle royale stuff.
They're going to have opinions on this mode for sure.
They will be vocal about it.
I think they're going to love it.
I think they will too.
I think they are.
Yeah.
I'm curious like how if there's how this mode is going to evolve like in the long run, like if there's going to be a Blackout 2, like how does this fit into Activision's
that's a
Call of
huge
Duty?
question.
Like is this just a service like straight up?
Yeah, in the rapid fire, we asked him a couple things along those lines about whether it be sold standalone, as he just said, I just make the shoes.
Yeah, I just make the shoes, man.
He's just a game designer. He's not a business guy. I could see it being sold standalone. Conceptually, we didn't get a hint of that at the studio, but also he wouldn't rule out the idea of other Call of Duty studios making their own battle royale, which is where it gets insane.
Now that just gets rough.
Yeah.
You're doing, I don't know that that's the thing that can happen. Just realistically.
I mean, World War II battle royale or whatever Sledgehammer does next.
Hey, Battlefield 5's coming out soon.
But then you're fighting with your own product because you got one that these are living games, right? These last years, you're gonna have to pick which battle royale in the Call of Duty franchise you want to play at any given time. That's insane to me. But
yeah, the other thing that is a big unknown at this point is microtransactions.
Right.
We don't know anything. They're not talking about it yet. It could have a huge impact.
We won't know anything about that until very close to release, I'm sure. That's just
seems like post-beta type of thing. Yeah. So we don't know about that. Zombies.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Zombies are
like
a part
the
of
zombies mode.
Zombies are a part of Black Ops 4, aren't they?
Yes. There's 3 different campaigns going at launch.
4 if you've got the season pass. Yeah.
Right? Okay, there we go. Dan, you got to play a little bit of like the Blood of the Dead.
I did.
Of reimagining of Mob of the Dead, the sequel, if you will.
Yeah, it's more of a sequel. Let's make that really clear. We did get to play it for like 3 seconds, and so it's not the same thing, but it's the same place and revamped.
It's a 1-to-1 of Alcatraz now compared to like the abbreviated version of Alcatraz, which it was before.
Correct. And yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say anything about that experience because one-player zombies is not a thing for me. And that's what I was doing.
Right.
And I'm not going to like be figuring out any of the puzzles or anything like that.
They said it was going to add new story details. It'll answer some questions from Mob of the Dead, which I guess a lot of the community has had.
Just some questions.
Oh my God. This was, I think, the most mind-blowing section. We're going to talk about zombies a lot next week on GameInformer.com, so definitely check that out there.
Yeah.
But just talking to Jason, Jason Blundell.
Jason Blundell.
Like director of the Zombies mode. He goes back a long ways with zombies and figuring out how deep this rabbit hole goes and that storyline. The fact that he said there are 3 fully formed languages within the zombies universe.
Not spoken, though.
Right, but still written language is like, what has everybody been doing? And that community, the way he describes it, it's like, it feels like a QAnon level of intensity of trying to figure out what is happening with zombie storylines.
QAnon is just posting, and this is actually figuring out ciphers.
Like,
there are answers here.
Yeah.
Like Jason gleefully told us when we were like talking to him that he likes to play with people too. Like when he was talking about his interview with what was it, GameSpot? He was like, oh yeah, I was leaving clues and notes and stuff during that interview, looking at the community. And like the first thing, well, more like the third thing you see when you walk into Treyarch is like this huge like zombie board that is somehow like like telling the story of the zombies universe.
Right. It has there's 2 storylines.
It's so convoluted.
Right?
It's the Ether and Chaos. Ether is the one that's wrapping up now.
The ongoing one.
Yes, and then Chaos is the new one. It's basically a new starting point, a new 52 in DC terms of like, hey, this is 9 Voyage of Despair. It's a new storyline. In theory, you can leave everything else behind.
In theory.
Well, he seemed adamant that they are separate. This is completely new.
And if you haven't played zombies outside of like, oh, I've played a few waves, you know, and killed some stuff with some buddies. Like there is some like ridiculous level Easter eggs in those modes. Like But
see, that's the thing I like about zombies modes. They can be enjoyed on multiple levels.
Yep.
If you just want to sit there and shoot some zombies and get some upgrades, you can. And then if you want to go down that insane rabbit hole, you can do that too.
Yeah, no, I think that's what's most interesting to me about it. Isn't necessarily like I want to do the thing where I unlock the Easter eggs. Like I'm more like interested in like the amount of work that goes into that and like just creating that sort of impressive puzzle piece.
Which we'll be talking about at GameFormer.com next week, like the history of zombies, all that stuff, a little bit of their creation. But like 9, which is that crazy Roman gladiatorial combat thing that was teased.
We saw
some bits and pieces, kind of like a highlight video of different areas. And they were key on emphasizing, and it's true from what we saw, like it's not just like an arena thing. You get out of that
not just in the gladiatorium. It was like there's a dungeon, there's some catacombs.
Yeah,
there's
catacombs.
Like a well-lit, very eerily lit green cave.
It seems connected to the elixir or whatever they're drinking in some way.
I think the elixirs are going to take the spot of like the chewing gum and the other sort of zombie pack-a-punch kind of stuff.
Sure.
It seemed like a lot of elixirs were being drank or being
a good times are being had.
The vapors, yes.
The vapors, yeah. I think it looked really cool, to be honest with you. And there was plenty of like shooting up. It looked good. It looked good.
Yeah, it looked like a fun time.
Yeah, we didn't see anything from Voyage of Despair, I don't think.
No,
but,
we did not.
But 9 certainly looks interesting. And the fact that there's so many campaigns out of the gate, they're really wondering, like,
That's
is it going to split the
that's so
community?
nuts.
Like, how can they focus on all these at once? I'd imagine that Zombies community will tackle it, though.
Oh, if anybody can, it's them.
Other quick facts about Zombies, if you want to get these down. Zombies now has a realistic mode, which is one-hit kill. They said the test group within Treyarch, they can normally get to like round 200 normally playing Zombies. On realistic, they all died on 15.
Yeah.
There's an easy mode. Easter eggs are on easy mode. But the
Easter eggs
ciphers... Oh, they aren't.
They are not.
Ciphers are.
Okay, so you can get the ciphers, but you can't get the Easter eggs?
That's
I want
right.
to make sure we're clear on that because, yes, that's important. And that's okay. None of the hardcore zombies guys are going to play it on easy anyway. That's actually for the people who just want to come in and do zombies without the mind-bending insanity that is the...
It is one of the deepest rabbit holes I've ever witnessed in the gaming industry.
What
are you
crazy.
guys doing
It's
over
crazy.
here? We have interviews going up next week. A lot of fun facts. GameInformer.com/BlackOps4 for everything.
Yeah. Everything
you can imagine. And the beta's coming soon. Prove us wrong. I think everybody will have a good time with this. If it launches,
I think so too.
Yeah.
And there's lots more stuff if you go to that. Like, tons more. We barely scratched the surface of this, what we could have talked about. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry for anybody not interested in Call of Duty Black Ops. And for those people, let's talk about Spider-Man. You guys want to clap out of here and come back later? Hey, we got Andrew Reiner.
Whew, that was a lot of Call of Duty talk.
Yeah, you were just sitting off camera saying, when can I talk about Spider-Man?
Just going like this.
We also have Kyle Hilliard.
Hi.
Okay, let's have some fun here, folks. I'm sorry if you didn't care about Black Ops, but we're excited about it, damn it. Insomniac Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man's Marvel.
Just Spider-Man.
Out tomorrow for everyone.
That's true. Okay, so Insomniac Spider-Man, you gave what score?
9.5 out of 10.
There it is. If we didn't hint too strongly last week that Reiner was pretty hot on it. Kyle, how much have you played of this thing?
I believe I won't know until Friday, till like the servers go live. I believe I have a platinum trophy in the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, how do you
can't
believe that?
Well, because I played on 3 different consoles, and they don't upload the trophies to the server.
All right, people don't care.
Anyway, I've played it a lot.
What do you think?
100% completed it. I love it. It's great.
Everything you wanted it to be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not a perfect game. There's like, we won't go into spoilers, obviously, but like, maybe there's a couple little like story shortcomings here and there, and not all the side quests are like amazing, but like overall, like I think easily the best Spider-Man game ever.
Crushes Spider-Man 2, crushes Neversoft.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, the Spider-Man 2 template is kind of there, but expanded on in a huge way, for sure.
Ryan, did anything surprise you? Like, you knew a lot going into this thing, and then you start playing it, and it's like, oh, it's more this than I thought.
Yeah, it's more, him in his prime than I thought it would be. Like, to put that into context, I mean, you'd really have to spoil a lot of the story stuff, but they go places in that narrative that I didn't expect them to. Opening new chapters, closing old ones. Like, it does feel like you've read there's maybe 100 comics that you didn't read before this,
And that's not off-putting?
No. I think they do a really good job of kind of setting the stage for all these things, and they knock them out of the park. They take some real risks with that story, both with, the established universe that you know and love, and tone as well. Like, there's moments in that game that get surprisingly dark or touching.
You compared something to the No Russian level from Call of Duty, which seems insane.
Yeah. Kyle and I had a big talk about this. I was like, you might not want to, if your daughter's around, you might not want her to see this sequence.
Yeah, because one of the reasons I was excited to play the game is because I play with my kids. It's a T-rated game. But I think Reiner was right. Like, I'm glad that I had that heads up and didn't play it around my kid. We're not
I am so flabbergasted about what this could be for Spider-Man.
We don't want to spoil it. I mean, we're not talking about gore. Like, there's no gore. It's just very
disturbing.
Intense.
It's a very disturbing sequence.
Yeah.
Weird. And without spoiling anything, can you talk about like what the larger theme of the game is? Is it...
That's a good question. Like, I mean, it's like pure Spider-Man. And I guess that's kind of a lame answer.
That's the lamest thing I've ever heard.
I know. It's not his origin story. It's like right smack in the middle of like I am the titular Spider-Man is one of his famous lines that he says.
I know this isn't going to sound like the most exciting thing in the world, but the game begins with him defeating Kingpin, big victory, his biggest victory yet after 8 years of being Spidey. But at the same time, you find out that he's really starting to fall apart as Peter. So he's getting evicted from his apartment. He can't, hit his appointments he needs to with Aunt May or work, at his lab.
Him and Mary Jane are broken up.
Because of this. A big part of it is, just the devotion he's given to being the city's hero, right?
Yeah.
So everything else is starting to fall apart.
So peak Spider-Man, lowest Peter Parker, and that's where the X starts.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay, that sounds
And that's where it kind of starts rolling, and you really get invested in both of those stories, and there's key players in both that rise in different ways. Again, I don't want to give away too much. I hate being so cryptic, but yeah, some might go against Peter. Others may support him in ways you wouldn't expect. It's very cool how they weave that web.
Okay, what can you talk about? What is hot in your mind?
Yeah, I in my review, I wrote one line just immediately. I wrote, "It's a triumph of superheroes and storytelling," and I felt like that's all I really needed to write for this review. Usually, I'm just blabbing on and have to be heavily edited, but this game, I felt like that line really summarized everything about it. And you get this great Spider-Man experience, like exactly what you want from Spidey, web swinging. He's super athletic, powerful in combat, witty. I think they did a pretty good job with his humor.
Yeah.
There's some of it that's goes on and on a little bit, but
a little ventrancy. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But he's pretty funny.
Charming, though. Like, I think it's even the cheesy stuff is executed well.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you get the depth of his different costumes through the years. That's something that they dangle like a carrot in front of you, like Insomniac does, that keeps you going. Maybe doing more side missions than maybe you would if you're just a critical path player. You might want to get those other costumes. And then on the other side, you have this really fascinating story about not just Peter, but Mary Jane and other characters in the Spider-Man universe that they actually take a lot of time to slow down.
Nice.
And you get to know them. And it isn't just all a beat 'em up. It's they really do a nice job of making you care about each character in this game, whether sometimes the villains or the heroes. It gets messy.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think there is going to be that crowd? I remember we talked about it before in the podcast about, are there going to be people that might be a little bit disappointed or bummed out by how much time you spend in kind of low-key Peter Parker settings?
Boy, if you don't get vested in that narrative, you might just be out. Like,
oh, really?
I mean, yeah, you might like this, or just click through the cutscenes or whatever. But I mean, I don't know who that would be. Like, because I think part of that is building up these other characters.
Yeah.
Their moments are just as interesting as Spider-Man's sometime. And just as exciting too. There's moments with certain characters that you're playing as that it's like, holy crap, the S is hitting the fan in a big way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to see what happens next. And then control goes back to Spidey and you're like, I want to go back to Mary Jane. I want to see where this is going.
I mean, it is paced well. There will be those people, I think, who get annoyed. It's like, okay, I got to do this stealthy part with Mary Jane. Like, you'll see it coming. It's like, oh, this is a Mary Jane mission.
Yeah.
But they're quick, and the story is interesting. There was maybe like one or two occasions where I put it off to go do more side quests as Spider-Man. But I mean, there's one in particular that I really liked, but to explain why would be a spoiler.
All right.
So I will not say. But I think that crowd will exist that is annoyed by those, but they're quick and they control well and they're interesting.
Yeah.
So
you say triumph of superhero storytelling. I mean, are we talking about on the level of tightness with the Arkham series? Is there any comparison you can make there?
I think it's you put it right there with the first Arkham Asylum. I know a lot of people, that's their favorite. I liked Arkham City the best. Yeah. Like, I thought that was a better realization of Batman and his world, and the story was awesome. But yeah, it is that kind of first step from Insomniac Games as Spider-Man that they knew the character. They did everything they could to bring what you've seen on both the silver screen and in the funny pages to life in their game. And I think, there's every time I saw him move, I was like, that looks awesome. That looks like a comic book cover, like a different animation he'd have. And they frame it that way too. They frame it like comic panels sometimes, the story sequences.
Including like with photo mode, you can turn it into a comic panel, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, yeah, I can't think of anything that Arkham did better than this, like in that first kind of throw. They're both like kind of established in the middle of their universes. They're not origin stories. Combat's very similar. I guess you could say maybe Spider-Man apes too much of it at times, but especially in some of the side activities where there's different villains and they're just kind of there.
Batman is very, very much like a defensive fighter, because you're countering a lot more, where Spider-Man's a more active sort of fighter. Like you're doing counters similarly, but you're doing a lot more like active punching as Spider-Man, I would say.
Tying him up and stuff. Yeah. And then just like the navigation, did you guys ever get sick of swinging around?
No, I never once used fast travel.
That's like the highlight of the game, right?
Yeah, they make you use it once for story purposes to show you it's there. But after that, I was like, I got to go 3 miles that way. I don't care. Like, I'm just going to haul ass with my blood blind.
You get so fast that like it really often, I mean, you're right. Like you see fast travel, if it's like you'll go faster just by swinging than you would if you'd watch the cutscene of him in the train, but it feels great. Yeah. It's initially he's a little sticky and it does take some getting used to. Like he like maybe you'd want to just land on top of this one, building on top of a building, the shed or something, and maybe he just keeps jumping over it. So there was like maybe like a little bit of time that I had to get used to controlling him. But it feels so good. And that point jump where you dash into like one specific spot and leap off, which is the fastest way to travel, even faster than web swimming. It like when you get the timing down on it, it feels great. It's so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Reiner, everything you wanted.
From a new Spidey experience, absolutely. The city activities get a little repetitive. I don't know how many times I stopped a car by jamming on the square button.
Oh, really? It's that sequence? Yeah. Okay.
Like, you just kind of close your eyes and be like, is it over? And it's like, oh, thank God it's over. So that's something they could really use, when they come to the sequel, which, man, they outline a hell of a follow-up act in the post-credit sequence. Yeah, there's 2 clips. I know people like going into the Marvel Cinematic movies knowing how many clips there are.
Okay.
Stick around all the way through the credits.
And imagining they're long. Okay.
They're very, very long.
They're very long.
Every company in the world worked on this game.
Is that right? A lot of Sony support for Insomniac there. Interesting. And so it has you more excited about Insomniac's perpetual future as a Spider-Man developer.
Yeah. They tease some big things. And I mean, there's Spider-Man people, like other critics that have finished the game and have DM'd me, and they're just like, is this what I think it is? And I was like, yeah, I think so. That's something we're going to have to talk about in a spoiled cast or something like that. There's a lot to discuss.
It's almost like it's ripe for a game club, which is coming up next week. What is it, September 13th, I think the episode airs? So
it'll be a good one for game club.
Oh, good. So we're going to break it up into 3 sections. So Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And you will know you're at the end of Act 1, which is after how long?
3-4 hours? Something like that.
Okay, somewhere around there. Yeah. So write in an email to podcast@gameinformer.com with your thoughts on that section of the game, whatever stands out. Be specific, be in-depth, focus on one thing. If you want your email read, if it's a scattershot of everything, it's very tough to sort through.
Yeah.
But one standout, favorite moment, anything like that, favorite little detail. But stop at the end of Act 1 where there's a trophy that'll tell you it's the end of Act 1, and a certain character gives a political speech.
Well, it's Norman Osborn. He's the mayor of New York City.
Right,
that's known.
That's known.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So after he gives a speech, that is the stopping point for the game club, which is next week. So play along with the community. It should be a good time. Anything else you want to get off your chest about Spider-Man?
Do we talk? Web swinging is good.
Combat's
Fighting is good.
Story's great.
Story's good. I think we got it all.
Yeah,
Insomniac did it. Congratulations.
And those moments where you're playing as Mary Jane and others, they're fun. They're done very well. Yeah, the stealth works well, and the puzzles are cool, and the context of what's going on. Yeah.
I want more backpacks. I liked collecting the backpacks.
Yeah. A tip for people out there, don't gather everything right away like I did. Like just immediately like, oh, I got a backpack. I'm not going to do another mission. I'm just going to get all 50.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Because having those littered throughout the game as you're going through it is a nice diversion.
Okay.
So you don't just have city crimes left at the end.
Interesting, because those get pretty dry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But the main game's awesome. Cool. 9.5 review on the site.
Yeah, it's up
There we
there
go.
right now.
Fallout 76.
Whoa, yeah.
We
More
talked
of
about
me.
it a
Yeah.
couple
like,
weeks
all
ago.
right, fine.
Nope,
Wait,
you're
no,
not clapping out yet, buddy. Fallout 76.
It's not working.
So you talked to Mr. Todd Howard himself.
Yeah.
There was one ray of light cast down upon his shiny head. And what did he tell you about Fallout 76?
So every time I've seen that game, whether it was at E3 or at QuakeCon, they kept talking about the multiplayer and what's new to the Fallout universe.
yeah.
And they never really outlined how it's Fallout. Right? So it's
Okay.
like they're like it's a survival game, you're playing with other players, every human is a player, and you're just like, or every character is a human. That's what they said, right? And I'm just like,
Yeah,
how
no
is this gonna
human
work?
NPCs in
Yeah.
the world.
That's an easy way to put it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like, how is this Fallout? Like, is it is it more like Ark or Rust or something like that? So I sat down with him and I asked him those questions about him and other people on the team about why is it Fallout? Tell me, what do I do when I get to the vault? And he's like, well, you're on a quest for the Overseer. And that goes all the way across the world. That takes you to different regions, and that is your main critical path.
The Overseer.
Yeah.
What is that?
So it's someone who left the vault before you,
Okay.
and they have you fetching something or going after something, and that's where it kicks off. So I was like, okay, so I have a quest line. That's cool.
Yeah.
Am I getting other ones as you go along? And they're like, absolutely. There's other characters in the world. And I was like, well, wait. You said characters were only humans, but that's not true. There's other NPCs like robots.
Right.
And they don't like calling them NPCs. This is something that I got into the weeds with them a little bit about. But I was like, so they're AI driven and they communicate with you and give you quests.
They're NPCs.
It's an NPC.
Okay. What do they say?
They're just like, that's not the true classification. Of
It's
what
an
our-
interactable
what our
bipedal.
NPCs are.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But they will give you quests. You'll find like hollow tapes. So maybe holograms of people giving you quests. You'll find documents like you have in other Fallout games. You know, those environmental stories that have always been so compelling about those games?
Yeah.
That stuff's still there.
Okay.
And they also do something a little different this time where if you're in the vicinity of something, you know, it might give you a kind of a landmark location, but also clue you into a quest that could be there. And then on top of that, something that's new, because they said, you know, it's only 24 players per server. So it's 4 times larger than any Fallout before it. Think about that in terms of your little speck of you in the world, how tiny you are. The odds of you seeing someone else, if you're in a dungeon or something like that, or another vault, pretty minuscule. And they want that to be that way where, you know, maybe you hear gunshots on the horizon and you're like, what is that?
Yeah.
I'm going to go investigate. It could be NPCs battling super mutants against ghouls or something, or it could be another player that you stumble across. And what happens at that point? But they have things called events, and those are going to show up on your map that will have people gather. It could be a big boss battle. It could be some kind of escort mission. They told me about one with robots where you're escorting robots. But that's where they want people to meet up to be able to do these you know, kind of communal missions.
All right,
Okay.
So you will be mostly on your own,
Yep,
right?
or
but,
you can-
But these events will be the areas where occasionally you'll gather with other people and do things.
Yeah, so you could play it solo. You know, you're always online.
Yeah.
There's always that chance of someone else coming up and messing with you or whatever. But you could play the game, you know, by yourself, never team up with anyone else. Pete Hines talked to me about how he went through that, how he was playing the game that way, and he was really enjoying it. Or you can, right out of the outset, let's say the 3 of us wanted to play together, we can team up and go into the world together and play it cooperatively, build, you know, camps together, stuff like that.
Cool. So you left much more optimistic about
I
it?
did, yeah. I totally get now why it's Fallout. Like, they said you're going to have a huge, you know, like the huge list of missions that you haven't done yet, and you're just going to pick one and kind of go off and do that. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about how much, you know, they kept saying you got to take care of your thirst and hunger and your camps and stuff like that. I worry about that being maybe a little too front and center, but they kept saying like you conquer that eventually and then you move on to something else, like another challenge like radiation or something like that.
And VATS is just out, right? Like
VATS is in the game, but
it is.
slowing down isn't. So targeting, you could target.
Okay.
That's going to be so bizarre.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how they do that.
Yeah, it's weird they haven't shown that yet. I bet people are going to freak out when they see that for the first time. Like, real-time VATS, no!
Yeah, I guess it would be like just high-speed aiming or like this is a weird one to call, but Crackdown would let you like aim. You could lock onto a car, but then like use the right control stick to aim for the gas tank or aim for the tires.
Oh wow, okay.
Like, so maybe it's gonna be something like that. I don't know.
Main point of inspiration. Yeah.
They hired the Crackdown 1 targeting guy.
Yeah, what are those guys doing, man?
Yeah, indeed. What is that Crackdown team doing? I think a lot of people are wondering. But
yeah, it sounds cool. Like, I was worried about it, and a lot of people online are seriously like freaking out about this not being Fallout anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
But it still sounds like it is.
By the way, I understand those people being concerned, but it is funny, like, the second round of, it's not Fallout anymore. We already went through that with Fallout 3, where everyone got their panties in a bunch, and everyone's getting it again for a different layer.
It's not top-down!
Yeah, all right, okay. But Fallout's evolving, folks. Here we go.
Yeah, we'll see. And I mean, I thought they were pretty smart in naming it 76 and not 5.
Right, for
sure. So they leave that door open for, okay, you didn't like this one, or, you wanted just a strictly single-player, traditional Bethesda Game Studios game. Well, here it is.
Yeah, for sure. Your features in the magazine right now.
Mm-hmm. It's on the site, too.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, the full thing.
What's it called if people want to find it?
What did I call that? I don't remember.
4 fantastic hours with Fallout.
That was my Spider-Man piece.
Just look at GameInformer.com.
Yeah,
you'll find it.
It's on there.
Cool. There we go. And do you know when the beta starts for that?
It's in October.
Wow.
Right?
Coming up real soon. Crazy. Also, just in case we seem like complete idiots, I want to mention that the Nintendo Direct that happened Thursday morning, we haven't seen yet. We're recording this not quite there yet, if that sentence made sense. So if there's some crazy news or something that we're not covering, we're sorry. We don't know what is in the Nintendo Direct, but maybe next week.
I
or
promise
something.
we consider it crazy news, though.
No, I don't want to do that. I hate being a listener and knowing things. Don't
what about
do it.
predictions?
Predictions? I don't know. Smash Brothers character.
No matter what we say, we're wrong. Let's move on. Okay, we have a lot to talk about. Ryan, are you coming back for emails?
Sure.
Okay, cool. You guys want to clap out, though? Oh, what's this? Kyle, you're confused, but
You
Kyle's still
told me
here.
to clap.
Shut up. We have Serial Vasquez.
Hello.
And then we have Daniel Tack.
Couldn't keep me away.
One more thing about Blackout.
It's great.
It's great. Seems promising is probably a better way to phrase it.
Well,
Anyways,
since you put those words in my mouth earlier this show, I got to roll with it now.
I did not. You said those words repeatedly.
I did. But
yeah. Other people in the office were misquoting you, saying that it's going to kill PUBG. I'm like, I don't think Dan said that. I don't think Dan said that.
Can we kill hyperbole a little bit here?
Yeah, no kidding. This
anything?
podcast needs to be nice and vanilla, which is why we're talking about early impressions of Destiny 2 Forsaken with Serial Vasquez. Again, Matt Miller, Lord of all that is Destiny, will hopefully be gracing us with his presence next
the
week.
Destiny chamber.
Yes, but as for now, like early impressions of the campaign, that's what you've been playing, Serial?
I want to say I've made my way through most of the campaign.
Okay.
Because it's structured a little differently. So you start off.
It's like Mega Man bosses.
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, it's weird because like that specific thing I think is something that they kind of messed up because even though at one point you make your way through the early missions. And eventually you sort of get to a point where here's the Tangled Shore, sort of their new location that's in the reef. And they basically say, okay, here's sort of, they do a very nice cutscene where they're like, okay, it's the hangman. He's like this guy who really likes to torture people. It's the marksman.
Do they put the name on the screen?
It's literally like a set of like cards of like poker cards of like, here's, this is the hangman. And it's like, and they're all sort of like working under Aldrin, who's the guy who, spoiler warning for people who haven't watched the trailers, basically, he kills Kate, is sort of the whole thing. They rest this
how can
expansion
you kill a robot?
on. Well, first of all, you have
Dan.
you have to snipe the little ghost that brings him back to life, and then you beat the crap out of him for about 5 minutes.
Right,
Oh.
right.
And then you
can't
shoot him
just
in, and then
take
you
a
shoot him in the
hard drive or
face.
something? You can't Baymax him?
No, Kyle.
Okay.
He's way stronger than that. He's too cool to die that way.
Okay, excuse
So
me?
you kill all these guys.
So basically, but the idea is that you're supposed to be able to tackle them in any order.
Yeah.
But they have like literal different light power recommendations. So it's there's sort of like a surreptitious order of like you should probably tackle the 390 guy before you take on the 400 guy.
Right.
But if you want like I actually didn't notice that at first and took on the hangman when I was 20 light below him, and he was like the hardest fight by far. But it was kind of like interesting to have a cool challenge that was like sort of focused on really reading the boss versus just like, all right, he's in the damage phase, kill it, like deal a bunch of damage to him.
Okay. Overall impressions?
I'm pretty positive on it.
Pretty positive.
So in the middle of it, maybe not in the middle, but in the early segment, there's this really weird sort of introduction to the bounty system, which they introduced in the last patch.
Yeah.
Which is just like go to the vendor, get a bounty, and complete it. So basically, in order for the guy to, the spider, who is sort of the vendor of the Tangled Shore, in order to get you to trust him, for him to trust you, you have to complete bounties for him.
Okay.
And it's kind of like this weird sort of like it kills the momentum a little bit because it's just like, all right, you're doing this thing, like Cade dies, you're trying to avenge these guys. There's a mission beforehand that introduces you to all of the barons.
Yeah.
And so you're like, all right, let's go kill these barons. And then there's this guy's like, wait, you might want to do some bounties for me, like basically. And these involve basically going out to different parts of the world, like all of the other Destiny locations, and like, okay, go find this lost sector, which you remember the name of, right? Because it says like, go to this particular location, and
something
it won't be on the
Bungie
map.
knows very well, but it's like I don't remember anything.
Right, so it all like this place called the pit. Like, start your hunt at the pit. I don't know where the pit is. Like it's a lost sector, and I don't remember the name of it. So I basically spent like an hour looking up locations online. It's like, where's the pit? The pit is in the EDZ, and it's in this area. So it was like this weird, like it killed the momentum a lot for me. But after that, it's like all of these bosses are like their own set piece in a lot of really.
And so
cool
those
ways.
seem cool.
Yeah, those are like my only problem with them is that they're kind of a little bit too brief. Like I wish that they had built up these bosses a little bit more. But when you're in the moment, it feels really cool. Like
cool.
There's one on a motorbike. There's one that's like a sniper fight. Well, there's one that's like on a pike, which are the sort of.
Sure.
And so you're fighting them on that. And like all these bosses have so far, I've only killed 7 of the 8, but they've all been really good so far.
Hang on a second. Kyle, what are you doing over there?
Just getting ready for my turn.
I swear to God, if you were checking your phone,
No,
so help
do
me
you really
God.
want to know what I was doing?
Yeah.
I was looking up a quote for Anthem when I talk about Anthem.
Okay, good. I love it. Good.
Okay, you're my best friend.
God, you're doing a really good job. Okay, so next week again,
Yeah.
we'll dive in deep. Matt Miller, get ready. You thought that Blackout talk was something? Matt Miller's going to blow you away. But Serial, you're here to provide color commentary for Dan Tack and Kylie Hilliard and their wonderful trip to PAX West.
I'm going to commentate their
was.
entire time that they're talking. I'm going to talk over them talking.
Yeah, talk about those barons
do
some
that.
more. How was PAX, boys?
Fantastic.
It opens up with cool and
Yeah, Dan,
fantastic as
you love the
always.
show.
I do. It's one of my favorite shows. Just such a community-oriented thing. It's really great to get the pulse on how other people feel about games. Like sometimes I think you're so isolated. You get the game, you play the game, you like it, you don't like it.
We're in Minnesota.
It's great. It's crazy to just get out there and talk to people about what the coolest thing they saw was,
Yeah.
and everything happening together. And of course, the rare occasion that Valve was out there showing a game.
Holy God.
How often does that happen, right?
Okay, we're going to get to that because you're red hot on Artifact,
Yeah.
the card game, the Dota card game.
Yes.
And that's why Serial's secretly here. But just for some other quick hits along the way.
Sure.
Kyle, most exciting thing you saw at PAX. What do you think?
So my favorite thing I played was just I say just to like it sounds like I'm diminishing it, but it was like an indie game that I wasn't following that I ended up getting hands on there called it's Gris, which is Spanish for gray, so I believe it's pronounced Gris. And it's just a really beautiful sort of artsy fartsy platformer, which is like my jam. Like that's the kind of stuff I love. And you kind of play as this woman who's like moving through an environment and solving puzzles, and it's hand drawn 2D animation. It's just really beautiful, and I really enjoyed my time with
Just
it.
coming out on Switch?
Switch and PC, which is like a weird takeaway from PAX is like everything was Switch and PC. Like as far as just like, which is it's just super smart. But yeah, like every indie thing that I touched, I felt like was Switch and PC.
You also played Anthem?
I did not play Anthem, but I talked to the devs of Anthem.
Oh, I was hoping you'd play it because I wanted to have you compare it to Spider-Man in any way. Just for like movement, because both those games, movement is big, and I think they're interesting in both. But.
No, they were there. They had a panel, and they were there to talk about kind of almost explain in more detail exactly how story is delivered in the game, like going to Fort Tarsis and then between the missions and stuff like that. But my favorite thing that I talked to them about, which is super nerdy, which is what I was looking up on my phone, which you got so mad at me about, was that I asked them like a very nerdy question of like, if you could get in the Normandy in Mass Effect, could you fly like 1 billion light years and get to the planet on which Anthem takes place? Like, do they exist in the same universe?
And I bet their answer is no.
Not a flat no. They had a weird term for it. Where there's like the Anthem of Creation, the storms. Do you remember what the storms are called? The Shaper Storms.
Yes.
So this is Gamble, the producer, says, it is actually theoretically in the IP possible to have the entire Mass Effect universe within a Shaper Storm.
So it's not a flat no. It's more like a round.
It's like a round no.
Wait, what the hell are you talking about? What does
I guess
that mean?
Shaper Storms, I guess, are like weird dimensional rifts or something like that.
No. Really?
I just read you his quote, is what he said.
maybe he's talking about like the scale and the size because the Shaper Storms are going to be so big.
Or are they? Maybe they're like portals to other places or something.
I don't think so. My read, just to spoil Anthem because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
My read, and I'm going to spoil Xenoblade 1 for people if you're not ready for this. I think what's going on with Anthem is that it's like Earth, but it's been like terraformed and transformed in some crazy way.
Even though they've said flat that it's not Earth.
Right, exactly. It's not Earth, but it's like we are the
like
Shapers.
An alternate dimension.
Not an alternate dimension, but the type of thing where like something went wrong with Earth, it's been terraformed, it's been nuked, and then revolutionized, and it's like the new world that we essentially caused.
Yeah.
That is my theory.
I think it's going to be like the ending of Battlestar.
Maybe. Because they are cagey about whether or not it's Earth. They're not saying, no. It's like, well, no. Like,
Yeah,
it's always weird.
Yeah, but there's a full interview on the site if you want to see everything that they
Sure.
said. Some other quick hits. I played Super Mario Party, which was, we played like a co-op focused version where like even the in-between mini games is a co-op, like you're riding down a raft together. And then the games that you play are specifically co-op.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed that. That was fun. I had a good time with that.
Hang on. What are the odds Super Mario Party is going to be like the best-selling Mario Party in years and years and years and years?
Oh, pretty high.
Yeah.
Super high. 100%. 150%.
Is it on Switch?
It is on
Yeah.
Switch.
Okay.
Then it'll
I
sell
thought, for whatever
gangbusters.
reason, I thought
Switch
that game
and
was coming
PC,
out.
actually.
Yeah. Oh, weird. I thought it was on
Connect
3DS
the
for some
switches,
reason.
right? You can do like weird stuff.
Yeah,
like put the
yeah. We
switches
didn't do
together.
anything that. We just had 4 Joy-Cons.
Okay.
And it was all motion control, but it was fun.
Is there any mini game where you have to stack 2 switches on top of each other?
Rub them up against each other?
Yeah.
I played it.
Dry hump some switches? What are you talking about, Serial?
You got to use them as fuel. You got to start a fire with your switches.
There you go. I think you're right, dude. I played a game called Sort of Fun, where you sorted things. That's good, right?
All right, I have fewer details here. This is genuinely I'm interested in this. The Halo Fireteam Raven arcade game.
Oh, yeah.
You played this?
I forgot that I told you that I could talk about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I played it briefly at a Dave & Buster's.
Okay. How is the Halo arcade game?
How was the event there at the Dave
Wait,
&
how
Buster's
did
where
you
they
get
had all the
Dave &
games
Buster?
where you could play?
There's a Dave & Buster's like 10 miles from here. So it was, I mean, it was underwhelming. It doesn't look great. It looks like the Halo 3 engine, maybe.
And it's like a light gun game?
It's like a light gun game. There's 2 screens, 4 seats. I didn't really get a good sense of the soundtrack because maybe it was just the nature of the arcade scene where it's just super loud. And there's also like a lot of like for an arcade game, like a lot of story and cutscenes and like character. Like the 4 characters have like bios on the machine, so you're like, oh, I'm playing as this guy who's puts on a helmet and I forget what they look like. And I guess it takes place during Halo 1, which is about the most interesting thing.
Okay.
Like you're supporting Master Chief while he's trying to blow up the Halo by being on rails and shooting things.
Okay.
So, and the guns vibrated, so that was fun.
Well, glad you talked about it. That seems cool. Streets of Rage 4 was also announced. Did you play it?
I played it. Yeah, it was very early. They even had placeholder music and sound effects.
Okay.
But the 2D character animation was fantastic. Like,
it's
really
.emu.
good.
It's like the team that made that Wonder Boy remake, which is visually incredible.
Yeah, and I'm not a big Streets of Rage guy, but like I really admired the animation of just the characters moving around and punching.
Yeah.
Like, they look really great. It's like 2D hand-drawn animation.
Okay.
Which was the same for Windjammers 2, which I got to play.
Right.
Which isn't dramatically different from Windjammers. Like, you have some new abilities.
What
like
else do you need?
You can like throw smoke up to like obfuscate your goal.
Yeah.
Did that work?
You got
and
it.
And the animation is like hand-drawn and it looks really great.
And Windjammers is just the best.
Yeah.
Great. And Trover, real quick, Kyle.
Yeah, Trover. So I played Trover, and I got to talk to Justin Roiland, the co-creator of Rick and Morty.
This is a PlayStation VR game?
It can be played either way. You can either play it flat, which was their weird term for it, or you can play it in VR.
Right.
And it's funny. Like, even just the like opening tutorial was making me laugh because like Justin Roiland is a funny television comedy writer.
Yep.
And he plays a ton of video games, so he's like playing with tropes about like tutorials and stuff like that. And it was really funny. Like, it had that sort of like weirdly improvisational style like that he has. It's very distinctly him.
And it's just fun to see in a game because you rarely feel that kind of lighthearted improv style in a game.
Even at the end of that demo, like it had like, hey, thanks for playing our PAX demo and a bunch of jokes about PAX and stuff like that.
Cool.
Like he had clearly gone into the recording booth and recorded a bunch of stuff specifically for the demo.
Yeah.
And he's a very funny person, as it turns out, and he was fun to talk to. So.
Perfect. Okay. Kyle's smorgasbord
All right,
has closed.
Clapping out.
Nope, no clapping
Okay.
in. You got to stay here and crack wise because
Okay.
Dantak,
Hey.
king of the jungle himself. Oh yeah, sorry.
I asked them. I played Diablo Switch,
Yes.
and I asked them about the Majora's wings.
Yes.
And they said they were wings inspired by Majora's Mask.
That is less of an answer than you could possibly hope for.
I know, but we were
Based on a real game.
yeah. I just wanted to, we were talking about that last week, so I wanted to
Yeah,
mention it. Okay.
based on the fact that we winged it because we needed another item that loosely related to Zelda.
All right, Dan, I'm done.
Dan Tack,
Hey.
Artifact.
Oh, it's a game.
You tweeted about this more than you've tweeted about anything, not including some dog memes or something in the last week.
I think
Aioli or-
probably more Aioli and
Lobster
dog memes,
bisque.
to be honest.
Okay, and then you went in our Slack channel and you said Artifact is the real deal.
I did.
It's going to kill PUBG. No, Artifact,
So to be clear, I never say it was going to kill anything,
I understand.
and I didn't say it was a real deal either. I just said it was awesome.
It's awesome.
Allegedly murdered.
So this is Valve's Dota 2 card game that
is.
Serial Vasquez, you went out to Valve to also play.
I also watched the stream for like an ungodly amount of time.
Perfect. It must have been so much fun to have Valve showing this game at PAX.
It was fascinating, especially since I had really no idea what to expect. I didn't have like a preconceived notion of this game going in. I actually thought it was going to be kind of wonky.
Okay.
And almost unplayable based on the concept.
What? What are you talking
You're
about?
playing 3 different games at the same time.
3 games?
3 lanes, basically.
It's 3 lanes, but to break it down to essential terms, yeah, you're playing 3 different games.
So it's like walking between different chessboards playing.
And you've got to win 2 out of those 3 games in
Well,
those conditions to win, or double win on one board to win.
I mean, you have one hand split across them, so it's not like you're picking up one hand
Okay.
of cards and you're trying to sort of wrangle them all together to play basically one match.
But Dan, you play so many of these collectible card
do.
games. I mean, you've played some where there's multiple lanes before, right? It doesn't
Not in this
Elder
fashion.
Scrolls do that or
Elder
something?
Scrolls does do that.
Okay.
It has 2 lanes, but it's not the same. It's not like this. That's why I try to state that you're playing 3 different games, because that's the easiest way to explain it. You are essentially playing 3 different games, and you have to win 2 of those games, or double win on one game to win.
So, big impressions, it's complicated.
It certainly was complicated for the first time I played. Second time I played, I started getting the hang of it. By the 3rd and 4th game, I was ready to go and starting to do strategy.
Because you kept coming back for more, begging
I did.
Valve to
I
let
did.
you
I
play.
actually did. I kept every day. I would send Doug an email, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm coming. Can I come back today? Can I come back today?" And I did that 2 days in a row.
I'll wear the blazer you like, Doug, please.
Yeah.
Doug Lombardi.
And it was, and thankfully they did let me play again.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. Once I got the hang of it, that's the key. It's not that complicated, but it can be very bewildering in your first.
If
your
you're
first game.
saying that, you are a systems dude that loves card games. I just worry, I guess, about like, is this going to hit a mass audience if like you're turned off for a little while by the complexity?
This is a card gamer's game. I'm going to straight with you. Like, this is a game for people who like card games.
Yeah.
This isn't going to have like an overshoot of like, oh yeah, I like Dota, so I'm going to love this. You might like the characters and lore, but unless you like card games, I can't see it happening.
It's not going to have like a Hearthstone-esque like sort of mass appeal. It's simple to pick up, and I can just play around in like 2 minutes on my phone.
It is. The thing is, it's very complex, but it's also very simple once you understand there's like all these juggling resources.
Yeah.
You could have a good time with like a dumb deck and be like, I'm just going to make a thing and I'm going to put things down. Mm-hmm. But there are definitely, like, because of the way that the turns pass and the overarching strategies, there's a lot of room for complexity there, and it is there.
Yeah. I'm still missing the ingredient of what blew you away.
So once you get into it and you realize you're all playing 3 games. So here's how it works in a nutshell, because I can't. Believe me, it's difficult to explain. It's difficult to play the first time, but once you have that, you understand it. But you've got color-coded heroes, right? They go into the lanes, so you got to figure out where you want to put them.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go put this red guy here, this blue guy here, this black guy here. Okay? And then you'll be able to cast the corresponding color-coded spells and effects in the lanes that the hero is in.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
So you can only cast a blue spell in a lane that you've got a blue character. And you can rule break with some of these because, let's say I can cast a blue spell with the mana in that lane, with the card in that lane, but I can put it in another lane. But that's only for some spells.
Okay, help me out.
Yeah.
So it's just a twist on typical structure that resulted in more fun, or I understand why that makes it.
I'm gonna get there.
Please.
First,
okay.
I have to tell you how it works.
Okay.
So I go first. Let's say I've got a blue character in the lane. He's at 3 health. I go first. So the smart thing I would do is if I had a potion in my hand, I'd heal my hero up, because otherwise, during his first turn, he could kill the blue hero, and then I couldn't play any blue cards for the rest of the round. So there's a very limiting factor there where you want to deny your opponent the ability to cast spells and effects in each lane by terminating the hero there. But this is very surface level stuff. Like, some heroes don't even do anything. Others have special abilities you have to click. So activated abilities, that's all part of it. And then between each round, between each board, you have an ability to go to the shop, which is like a Dota concept, right?
Yeah.
This is basically to let you pull away from a game that you are destroying the opponent by killing all of his creeps, which are randomly thrown into lanes and have random attack patterns. Same with your heroes, right? You don't get to pick directly who they attack unless you use cards. This sounds very complicated. I know
it does.
It's mind-boggling, but the UI and everything very intuitive. It helps you grasp difficult concepts over the course of 30 minutes,
and it feels fresh.
Absolutely, you have to tinker with it. Like I said, first game I was like, man, this is kind of weird. I don't know if I like it. By game 5 and 6, it was like, now I get it. This is really cool. I'm going to start establishing lane presence in this lane with a blue character so that I can cast spells down on the other side of the board early on in the turn so I can clear out his hero before his hero will have a chance to play any cards in that lane. So his black character here will not be able to play any black cards in lane or any cards in lane.
Okay.
Because he's only got that black hero. If I kill it from using stuff down here in lane 1, by the time that turn but we get to the third board, that hero will be dead because of stuff I've done here, and then he won't be able to play any cards, and that's a huge advantage for me.
Yeah.
And I think sort of for me, what I think it comes down to is just the number of considerations for playing any particular card are way higher than I think in most card games. So like in a lot of card games, it feels like, okay, this is how I use this card. But because of the 3 lanes, you have like, okay, do I want to save even on a basic level of just like, here's a card that heals my guy? Do I want to use it on this hero, or do I want to use it on a hero that is in another lane? And sometimes you want heroes to die because it's the easiest. Sometimes it can be the easiest way to move them from one lane to another because they come back basically. And so there are things about like which enemy are you targeting in this lane, and so those options feel so much higher, and it feels easier to miss something, which is sort of like the thing that I kind of dislike about a lot of card games on a high level of just like, oh, these games are just kind of playing out sort of automatically.
Yeah.
Versus like it's very easy for even like good players, because like I was watching the stream and even they had like, here are people who have played a lot of the game up against people who, basically just started playing today, but have, been reading up on it. And it was very easy, even for like their sort of champions, which is what they called them, to miss something of like, oh, he was focusing on the strategy in this way, but he's totally forgot about this one lane, and this guy's making a run for this single lane, and he can totally win that way.
Huh.
So a lot of it comes down to the turn structure. It's not just like I do all my stuff, you do all your stuff. It's I do one thing, you do one thing, I do one thing, you do one thing, and then eventually you just pass when you're out of stuff to do.
Right.
Or you could pass and then let them play something, then do something. Let's not even go there. Like that's more wild.
Yeah.
And then you got to beat these lanes and then choose how to allocate your resources once you don't want to overcommit to a lane and then lose 2 lanes, right? So you kind of have to like move your assets around after it's a big pass and play like okay, I'm going to take this lane now. So I'm going to stop putting stuff there. Is he going to stop putting stuff there? I don't know. You have to make all these considerations about which lanes you want to take, when, and how.
It's fun, Kyle, as a Valve fan. Isn't it kind of fun to hear the idea that like the designers at Valve are inventing a new card game? Isn't there like a party that's kind of into it?
No.
Just the idea of like it's a card game, it's a well-worn genre.
If you check out the word card, it's exciting. The fact that Valve is working on a game,
just on a game design basis, though, like it's like, hey, Valve is instead of making Dota 2, they're making Cribbage 2,
like
it's a good design.
They're looking at like a known like genre. It's not really a genre, I guess you could say, but like, and they're putting their Valve like touch on it. Is what you're saying?
I think
as opposed
exciting.
to what they've done, which is like take someone else's project and sort of like like Dota was basically that, Counter-Strike is basically that to some degree, Left 4 Dead and Portal. This feels like the first sort of, I don't want to say original, but like this feels like the most design work they've done on a basic high level. Like obviously there's a lot of nuance.
That's true. You guys, that is exciting that they're thinking about game design again.
Also, Brad Muir, former Double Fine guy, is there. Did you talk to him at PAX?
I saw him there, but I didn't get a chance to talk to him.
Oh my gosh, the legend!
It was crazy.
He was
the people
smiling.
that were playing right near me. We had the previously the Hearthstone director Ben Brode was playing.
Oh my
like
god!
2 seats down from me. Yeah.
What was his facial expression?
I was trying to play my own game.
Started crying.
I mean, he's not there anymore.
We're out of business,
Those
boys.
sons of
He's not-
bitches.
well, he's not with
You did it.
They've done
He's not
it.
with Hearthstone
There were tears
anymore.
of joy. They
I
were
know.
like, they perfected it.
But that is fascinating because in theory, the Hearthstone creator, he started a new studio. I forget the name of it. But like, do you think they're going to make a new card game? Like,
I have no idea, but I do know that this game is awesome, and I want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
Since we're doing a lot of pre-evaluation on games today, then
Please?
like we already did with Blackout, this thing's great. This thing is really, really good.
and it's poised for.
A great launch.
I think
Is it going to take over the world?
it has the backing
No.
of Steam, which I think is going to give it like a set
No.
amount of like. I don't think it's going to fail. I'm not sure if it's going to like
So-
blow away.
I have some questions and considerations that were not talked about still, and that's very important for this game's success or failure, and that's the monetization model,
Yeah.
tournaments, drafts.
Oh, real quick, free to play?
No, it's
no,
$20, and you get like
You can buy card packs.
Yeah, you get
Okay.
2 they're $2, which I think is more expensive than most card games.
It's $20 gets you in the door with 10 packs, and then every additional pack is $2.
$40 gets you on the floor.
That's right.
It's going to be this is not going to be. It's not a free to play.
Yeah.
So that's already a big thing against it in terms of mass appeal, right?
And you can also buy like individual cards on the marketplace, so you can see like if there's a particular card you're missing.
Could get hairy.
Yeah,
of course it could get hairy. I mean,
it'll be hard to see. It'll be interesting to see like how much the total set costs. I'm sure someone's going to do that math at some point.
Yeah.
Like, here's how much all the cards and artifact cost.
Right.
and it will change as sets rotate in and out of standard play.
Yeah.
And again, that's a big factor, I think. But what I can say is that the gameplay is very compelling and very
That's
cool.
great.
Especially if you like Dota and you're a hardcore CCG player, it's a bonus.
Dan, this is made for you.
I think it really is.
But I'm happy to hear that you're excited about it.
Real quick,
I actually am.
Is it visually compelling? Because that's the nice thing about Hearthstone is how like,
some of
nice
it is
looks.
from a UI and gameplay perspective. I think it really does a great job of conveying what's happening on the board. But
At Hearthstone levels?
Not
Because that presentation.
Hearthstone is just Hearthstone is amazing. All right,
Yeah.
you're throwing colored rocks at each other.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's barely
That
even
is
a
why
card
I like
game. It's the best.
Hearthstone. This is the best description of Hearthstone. You're throwing colored rocks at each other.
This is much more like they do a great job at conveying the ridiculous amount of required information as opposed to Hearthstone, where it's one board
Yeah.
and doing things the opponent cannot respond to. There are no interactions.
Yeah.
There are some interesting things like certain cards will trigger cutscenes. Like there's one like if you use Zeus's Thunder God's Wrath, basically it cuts to like an overhead sort of like 3/4 view of like lightning striking all of the heroes.
Some of
those cool.
All right.
spells
The hero's
are there.
signature spells. So here's a cool the hero comes with spells.
Yeah.
Comes with spells
With cards in your hand, basically.
If you put that hero in your deck, you get their associated spell.
Uh-huh.
So with Zeus, you get the Thunder God's Wrath, which blows up everybody.
Yeah.
Heroes. That's important.
Cool. Okay. Artifact. You wrote about it on the site too.
I did.
Gameformer.com.
Yes.
Feeling good.
I want to play it right now.
I get
So
it.
do I.
Like I can't live without playing that game. I'm telling
He's going
you.
to tie.
With or without?
Val, you have to get him a copy of this game.
I did not expect for it to be this good, and I have never waited in a line at PAX before until this moment.
That's exactly how I felt going into
All right.
Artifact.
From this moment.
It's stupid good.
Love affair.
I
Okay.
must have more.
Now imagine
All right.
you played it in April. Or whenever the hell I played it.
I'd like to imagine that. I'd
Seriously,
like to go.
I like
That's another.
That's
another
how long
game.
I've had to wait.
When's it coming out?
November 28th.
October is closed beta.
Yeah.
This year?
This year.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's coming soon.
I know.
Very exciting. Leo Vader in the booth. Hey.
Talking to Leo's corner.
Real quick, the Rainbow Six Siege update. I feel like we would miss out if we didn't get your just ocean of knowledge about Rainbow Six Siege on the Grim Sky update here.
Sure.
Two new characters.
Yes. First off, I always feel weird when I'm talking for a long time on video off camera. So if Kyle could just like move his lips,
Yep.
while
we
I
got it.
talk, that'd be.
But
really
imagine
helpful.
like a really handsome, articulate Kyle.
right.
That's
So two new
difficult.
ops and a new map. I was hoping they would suck, so I wouldn't play Rainbow Six Siege for 2 months, and then I could play all the games that are coming out this fall. But both the operators and the new map are amazing. I love them. There's the shield operator Clash. She's the first shield defender.
It's a real son of a bitch. It's like an electrified shield. It's the two things that you don't want to deal with in this game.
And the electricity slows you way down.
How are you supposed to beat that?
You need to get up close and you need to hit her. Hit the shield and it knocks it away, and then you can hip fire her legs. That's what you're supposed to do. Plus,
Okay.
you can play Capitao and burn her up with your flame arrows.
Oh, that's cute.
But she's really cool. Like, I was able to totally like cancel a plant because they tried to sneak in the side and plant the diffuser, and then I was able to just block the hole with my big body. It was great.
Block the hole, baby. Maverick, what do you think?
Maverick's super fun. He's not as overpowered as I was worried he would be. He can silently create holes and reinforce walls, which no one's been able to do before.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, they're like tiny little murder holes, but I was able to like kill people back through them. Like, they didn't feel like they just ended the match when they
Yeah.
came in on the point, you know?
For sure. Leo has been a great Sherpa for Rainbow Six Siege. Like, my friends have gotten into it recently. Seems like everyone in the world that I know is getting into Rainbow Six Siege, and Leo is great for guiding us through it. We've definitely hit that curve, though, Leo, where it's gone from, like, grab-ass hour every time we played to now it's just a lot of, like, damn it! Like, the genuine frustrations, like, why aren't we better? We should be better at this by now. Like, there's always that learning curve when you step into a game like this of, this is fun, whatever, and now the fun's tapering down a little bit because we're getting frustrated that we could be better killers.
You know just enough to hate yourself.
Right, but I think the game is incredible. It is so much fun.
You need to start obsessively watching tips videos every day at work.
Is that the secret?
That's the secret.
Okay, I'll put it on the other screen. Also, the other thing that's frustrating, team kills in that game, in casual matches, are absurd.
That's a problem.
It is an epidemic. And you can't get out of it until you're level 20 to play a ranked game.
Right.
What are you supposed to do with that?
get a full stack of 5 people. It's the only thing you can do.
Because it's just a slaughter.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
insane.
it's horrible. Yeah, it's a nightmare for sure.
And what have they conveyed? Ubisoft conveyed about this problem?
Well, they definitely want to keep, friendly fire on. That's not an option to just remove that. But I don't know. They've done minor things to hamper the toxicity. With this update, you can now mute text chat on a person-to-person basis on PC.
Okay.
Which you haven't had before. That's really nice.
Great.
But I don't know what they're going to do about team killing. It seems like a hard problem to solve.
Yeah, for sure. Leo, are you excited to play more Spider-Man for Game Club next week?
I'm excited to stop playing Spider-Man where I have until Game Club next week.
Fantastic. Look forward to it. End of Act 1, everybody. Right into podcastgameformer.com.
Can I do 2 real quicks?
Okay.
Leo should check out Due Process. It's a cool-looking game that's inspired by Rainbow Six. It's a shooter that's coming out.
Ooh.
Then it kind of looks like a PS1 game. It's weird.
You saw me hard on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said excitedly.
It's cool. I promise it's cool. And then Dan and I played Fortnite mini golf, but we don't remember who won. Which is
We do remember who won.
No, I don't think there's any way of knowing.
Okay. That seems fun.
You guys were both blackout drunk is what you're telling me.
The scorecard's on the shelf there, but I mean, I
Did
can't
you really
see it
put it
from
on the
here.
shelf?
Yeah, I can't see it from here.
I understand. Okay,
one
there's
of
a
us
video,
won.
there's a video on the site.
Those are definitely 2 numbers, but I can't tell what they
Oh
are.
my God, this episode's long. We've got to move on to emails. You guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still here. Dan Tack, returning champions here.
I'm still here.
King of the Jungle.
A jungle is a dog, apparently.
Wait, what is the King of the Jungle if not one dog?
Big dog's got to eat.
Oh, Dan Tech, please. It's a family-friendly podcast. Andrew Reiner's back as well.
Hey, what's up?
And the spider nut himself, Benjamin Reeves.
Meow.
Okay, what we're doing here, we're reading emails that people sent into podcast@gameinformer.com. They sent in questions, thoughts, words of wisdom, dares, games, trivia, anything that
makes the podcast better.
Podcast@gameinformer.com. We're going to choose our absolute favorite email of the week and then put that person's city or country or state up on the big board. We have a pin going up there. It's lovely.
And how many people have lied about where they live out of embarrassment?
Probably 0.
Really?
But we would love more international people writing in because right now it's just Paris on the big board. And then it's a lot in the U.S.
And they should be
what's up,
embarrassed about where they live.
Australia?
Yeah, come on, Australia. For the last time,
used to
David
get-
Milner, right into
Come on.
podcast@gameinformer.com.
I really want to
you
hear from
coward.
that guy.
I thought we used to get a lot of emails from Australia.
We do. They just never win.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything about the quality of Australian emails,
All right.
but I'm just saying
Let's just say those emails are down under.
Whoa.
the table. Anyways, Tyler from Nashville writes in. He says, hey, in celebration of the upcoming Spider-Man game, have you guys heard this? Seen about this?
What game is this?
Spider-Man. I thought I'd give you all some fun rapid-fire questions relating to the webhead, since rapid-fire questions seem to be one of Game Informer's favorite things to do. That's true. You guys ready? This is quick.
Okay, Dan, you ready?
I haven't even played this game.
Can Peter's radioactive spider bite ever be cured?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but why did you want to? Actually,
Okay.
fun fact, he in one version of the story, he kills Mary Jane
What?
because she gets cancer.
And he like snuffs around with a
He
pillow or
gets
something?
cancer because of
the
the
reactivity,
intercourse
yeah.
they were having.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Spider-Man.
Yeah, how dare you, Spider-Man? You got
Starting out on a high note. Okay, number 2. If there's a Spider-Gwen, where's Uncle Spider-Ben?
that'd be fun. I'd read
right.
that story.
If Spider-Man comics keep going till 2099, what will happen to Spider-Man 2099?
He'll be old Spider-Man.
Who's the best Spider-Man villain?
Green Goblin.
Who's the worst?
What? Am I the only one answering this?
You're picking up
Vulture.
the-
Hey, you kind of just
Vulture.
took off with it.
All right. The worst is Vulture?
Yeah, sure.
You're out of your mind.
Even after, did you watch the new movie, Homecoming?
No.
Oh,
Oh, crap. So, well,
Get back to me
Vulture's
after you say
very
that.
fun. He's very fun.
All right.
What do his webs feel like?
like going
silly
home.
string?
Yeah, silly string, I think is right. Would web shooters help make your life easier? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Of course. Do spiders have a spider sense in the Spider-Man universe?
How do you think they run away?
All right. Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane?
Gwen Stacy.
Toby, Andrew, or Tom?
Tom.
Tom. Peter Parker
Peter Parker.
or Miles Morales?
Peter Parker.
All right.
Miles.
Is the Venom movie going to be any good?
No.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a solid
I'm hoping it'll be bad good.
52% of Rotten Tomatoes would be my guess.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is Stan Lee going to appear in the new game? I don't know.
No comment. Just play the game.
Play the game. If he can do whatever a spider can he suck blood?
No.
All right. Who do you want as the villain for Spider-Man Far From Home?
Well, they've already announced it, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yes, Mysterio. It's the
Yeah.
best. That's the best choice. That's my favorite
Yeah, it's a
villain.
really good choice.
So much fun.
Carnage.
Let's see. When is Insomniac remaking Ratchet & Clank Going Commando?
Never.
In my dreams.
There we go. Last question. How excited should I be for Insomniac Spider-Man?
9.5.
I'd argue you got 9.5.
Yeah,
It's very
9.5
clear.
out of 10.
What do you think the review means? Let's see. Mike from Walnut Creek, California says, "Hey, GI crew, I'm super excited to play Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. I haven't played a Spider-Man game this generation and can't wait to see how the web swinging and diving into crowded streets flow on current technology. But with this being yet another game set in New York, this caused me to ask the question, what is the best New York ever in all of video games? It's been featured everywhere from driving games, open world games, etc., including Insomniac's own Resistance 3. Given your extensive game knowledge, which one do you think is the best representation of the city?"
Grand Theft Auto 4.
It's hard to argue against Grand Theft Auto, honestly.
That's true. Although at the GameStop Expo, somebody that went through our line, it was very nice, said wonderful things about Game Informer. I'm sorry, I don't remember their name. They were talking about New York and video games, and they said only one game feels like it's gotten it exactly right, and I didn't see it coming. The Division. They said The Division is like scary spot on for like recreating everything in New York.
I can see that. That's good.
Yeah?
So like the No Man's Land is a lot like New York? Is that what they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like every district is laid out and has a actually I see that.
guess so.
Wow.
Yeah, they're closer to the actual like blueprint of what New York is, the city streets.
Yeah.
Whereas liberties are usually taken to make the games more fun, like elevating roads or putting different districts in different spots.
That's why it's called Liberty City.
Yeah.
I'm fond of even though it's not actually like New York, I'm fond of the pulpy dark version of New York in Max Payne.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a fun kind of feel to it. It's like the New York you want to feel like in a dark movie. Does that make sense?
Nope. Anyway, Scott from New Cumberland, Pennsylvania says, "Hello, everyone. I generally think JV has terrible taste in video games. However, I'm in love with Crossing Souls, a game we don't really talk about much. It's a game he gave a 9. I picked it up on Switch, and I can't stop playing it. That was like the...
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was the 80s inspired,
Is that like a realization where you wake up and just start screaming because you realize you have like the same taste as JV?
I'm JV! I'm becoming JV! My hair, it's growing! So you're going to bit by a radioactive JV?
Hey, if you wake up one morning and your hair is growing, you should be worried.
I'd like to be that worried.
Question is, what is your favorite JV-ass JV game?
JV
game?
likes XCOM. Does that count?
Ah, that is true.
I mean, is Undertale a JV game?
I don't know if
I don't
Undertale
think it
is really
How about
a
Edith
JV
Finch?
game.
Is Edith Finch a JV game?
Yes, it is.
So that's
a
yeah.
good one, yeah.
Okay.
Wolfenstein.
Of course.
Oh,
There we
yeah,
go.
of
Great
course.
choice.
He does like some good games.
Wait a
See?
minute. He's a real gamer-ass gamer. Jordan Schaefer from Fairfax, Virginia says, "Hello, I just read JV's latest Virtual Life post and was reminded that I meant to send this email a while ago. I just finished Final Fantasy 15 for the first time over the summer and absolutely loved it. The characters, the world, the lore, the monsters, the combat, the music, overall aesthetic, all of it was brilliant. At this point, I'm hard-pressed to think of any party members in any game, save for maybe Mass Effect 2, that I've enjoyed more than the Choco Bros and their banter.
That's a good
And I
name.
suppose I can see why JV couldn't get into it. You read that article recently. But can someone back me up when I say this game is incredible?
It is.
You loved it too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Did
a really
you
good game.
write the review? What'd you
I
give it
did.
again?
8.5.
I think it was an 8.5.
Sounds right.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Dan, did
Yeah,
you
it's a
ever
good
finish
game.
that?
I did not finish it. I started it. I didn't care for it.
I understand that. They there was that weirdo mobile version of Final Fantasy 15 with
yeah.
like the chibi sprites, and I guess like there was a leak. I don't know if it's true or not, or it's just a rumor that it was popping up like on the PlayStation
Yeah,
4
that
store,
might be
but like
coming.
the weird chibi version. Get that version on Switch,
That'd be
man.
really cool.
I will absolutely give that
Yeah,
game another
that'd be cool.
chance.
Well, how
if it's a
far in
cute
did you
chibi.
get?
Maybe like 4 or 5 hours. And I was not feeling it. Other than the music, I love the music, but
I played it to completion, and I don't think I ever felt it. So I don't
really.
know. Yeah.
But have you tried the chibi mobile
Oh,
version?
I would play it again. If it
All
was
right,
that, yeah.
on a Switch. It's night
That's
and day.
right.
I understand. Nick from Dover, New Hampshire, has a very good question. I love this question, and I want us to take it very seriously.
Okay.
My challenge to each of you is to name a game from this generation, Switch and Wii U both count, that you have played to completion that you are confident none of your podcast colleagues have ever even touched.
Do I have to like it? Or is it any game that they haven't touched?
Well, you have to have completed it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But
liked
you guys
it
review
enough.
games, which almost feels like cheating, right?
So should it be a game that we haven't reviewed then?
I would love that if you can do it.
Wow.
Every
All right, I
Artifacts
got one.
Mundi game that's on Xbox.
What is
What?
it?
Artifacts Mundi, it's
Yeah.
a developer. They make these like
He's going to win.
puzzle adventure games.
Name one.
I can't name them, but I played like 10 of them.
There's one coming out. My Brother Rabbit. I played it at PAX.
Okay, what about, Rainer, what is specifically like the Ghostbusters game? I remember you played that, right? Did you beat it?
The real Ghostbusters game?
know that. I'm sorry, Goosebumps. Completely different thing.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I beat that, and that's what made me want to play these games. Because I was like, I want a good old school like puzzle findy game, like adventure game. And Artifex Mundi, seriously, just search them on the Xbox store. There's like 10 of those games there. I played through all of them.
Wow.
I can't name one of them right now, but I played through all of them.
It's a good
And there's
sign.
like trilogies I played through. I can't even remember the name of them.
Right.
But they're fun.
All right. Day and Tack, what's the
I mean,
challenge?
mine's kind of easy with the PC specialty. Let's go with Slay the Spire. I bet no one's here has even played it.
I've never even heard of that.
I might have downloaded it, but I haven't booted it up. It's coming to Switch, right? I think it is.
Is it? I don't know if that's been. I don't know if that's
I
been
think
announced.
it's out
What did you
there.
say? Let's Inspire?
Slay the Spire.
Oh.
It's an awesome game that no one here has played.
I believe you, man. Reeves, what do you got?
I was going to say Uncharted 4. Pretty sure nobody here's touched it, right?
Everyone's
nobody's
still
here.
very confused about that.
Box Boy. Has anybody here played that?
No.
I love that series.
That's pretty mainstream,
Wow.
Yeah, everybody's playing that.
No, that's true, though.
It's a really fun, like, puzzle platformer if you're into it.
Yeah. All right. I was thinking, I look back through my notes because I keep track of every game I played. There's a game called The 3/4 Home. Came out in 2015 on Steam. It's a little narrative game. It was actually made by somebody in Minnesota here, which I didn't know until I beat it. But it's like you're just driving a car on the way home, and you're like on the phone with your mom, and I think the rest of the
Wait,
family.
what's it called?
3/4 Home.
I played that.
Damn it!
Yeah.
Damn it! My deepest cut.
It's just like constantly moving.
Yeah, and a tornado's like coming towards your parents' house. Damn it.
that was
Okay,
neat.
what about
Out of all the guys who could pull out a deep cut, Hanson,
I
I think it'd
know!
be you.
That was a pretty good deep cut.
Hidden Agenda? Is that the play
I
links?
started it.
Damn it.
With some friends, but we did not finish it.
Has anybody started Donut County yet?
I have not.
There
that
we
just
go.
came out. That doesn't
I know, but
count.
I just beat it. It
doesn't
still
count.
counts. It counts.
It counts.
It's good. Okay.
I'm sorry, Hanson, you lose.
That's fair. It's true. My name is Mason Parker from Grand Prairie, Texas. Hello. And I have a question regarding the magazine. The Game Informer magazine, I think.
Oh.
As far as I can tell, no credit is given to the reader response section, even though it's absolutely great. The wry humor and sarcasm is and always has been hilarious to me. So who the heck writes them? Whoever it is, bravo, my good man or lady. You've given me many laughs.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
Oh, do you guys prefer to keep it a mystery? He
Yeah.
said that we could say who it is.
Yeah, let's keep it a mystery.
Really?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you just revealed
I could say I used to write them for about a decade.
Oh. But they're very funny now.
They are funny.
Yeah.
I love it. It's my favorite part of the magazine. But this mystery person who's been on the show a fair amount, he insisted, good God, we need more emails. So in addition to podcast@GameInformer.com, send in your thoughts on the magazine to feedback@GameInformer.com.
And we can confirm it's a person on staff who writes this.
That's right.
Okay.
Under 6 feet. Anyways, Natalie from Felixstowe, UK says, hello, GI crew. If you were an NPC and you were killed, what loot would you drop? My loot would more than likely be a piece of Lego, giving a -1 damage per second debuff. We have all stood on Legos. That's true. All right, for Natalie, what is going to be left behind if you were killed as an NPC?
Lego.
A bazooka.
What a weird thing.
Just one bazooka.
Just drops out of my pants.
Does
Just
that
a
mean
bazooka.
you always have one in your pants? Or you have... Oh,
Then it'll be 6 ounces of Mountain Dew.
just like a little piss puddle?
Yeah. It wouldn't even be in a can. It's
fizzing?
How are people supposed to loot that?
Straws.
Dan, what do you got?
Some vape and a cheerwine.
Boy, really
Cheer
says
wine.
it all.
Cool.
A vape? What are you talking about?
Nothing's cooler than vaping.
And it.
Is the cheer
boy.
wine inside the vape?
No, they're separate products. It's double the loot. So you get a
Speaking
nice
of Final
soothing
Fantasy
cheerwine.
characters, Final Fantasy 15. Here he is.
What?
Vape and cheer wine.
Mine's
Fit right in.
These are good things.
They're pretty good. Earbuds and regret for me. Anyways, Matt Patron says, hello, Matt. Howdy, Ben and crew. So I know everyone wants to discuss the game that is kicking off the blockbuster fall video game season this week. You know the one. It begins with S and it ends with Brigade. That's right, folks. Strange Brigade.
Yeah.
Forget Spider-Man. Where the hell did this game come from? I sunk 20 hours in over the weekend and I have kids. They're starving. Uppercutting mummies and shotgun blasting Mola Ram's children is fantastic. My two favorite things in life right now are Strange Brigade and RoboCop, and I hadn't even heard of Strange Brigade until last Thursday night. I assume he's talking about the Game Boy RoboCop theme. Anyways, has a game ever jumped from the shadows to surprise you like Strange Brigade did for me?
For me, it was Undertale.
Just completely out of nowhere?
When I got tasked, when I was like,
No one was talking about it.
yeah,
Tack discovered it.
I didn't say that, but I certainly had no idea what it was when I was going in at all, and I just played the whole thing through.
Yeah.
God, you gave it what, 9.75?
No, it wasn't that high. It was 9 something though.
I think we came in one Monday and we are like, hey, some people started talking about this Undertale game, and you were like, oh, I beat it this weekend. You're like, what?
Because I picked it up and I just started playing. I'm going to find out what I gave it.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Strange Brigade, that's a little bit like a Left 4 Dead style thing. I don't think anybody in the office has checked it out at this point, maybe, but we should keep our eye on it.
Sounds cool. Well, it's kind of Indiana Jones style, right?
I don't know.
That's what I've heard.
Oh, really? Okay. That sounds fun. For me, I guess this year would be Subnautica. I had no expectations going in. I was just like, I guess I'll try out this little underwater cute thing, and then sunk so much time into it.
Yeah.
Turing test for me.
Oh,
that game was
That's
awesome.
Yeah, was that a couple years ago?
First-person puzzle game, kind of like Portal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
well,
right.
the original Portal, I was going to say, was pretty good.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
As we talked about in the game club.
Bundled with games you've never even heard of.
No, but that's true. It was like it was the dark horse.
Well, it was the one that you probably cared the least amount in that package.
Right.
Yes, true.
It's also older. I was going to say the original Prince of Persia Sands of Time. I went in to rent it somewhere, and back when you could rent games from places, and then the next day returned it to go and buy it.
Wow.
I liked it so much.
Okay, so yeah, if we're putting the caveat in there nobody was talking about it, then I guess I'm gonna have to go. I'll go with Divinity Original Sin then. The original one, before it became the best franchise ever for CRPGs.
Yeah. Did you talk to them at PAX?
Yes, I did.
Did you thank them?
I absolutely did.
Okay. Anything stand out from the interactions with Larry in there?
I mean, they were just showing stuff that was already out.
Okay. It's on consoles now, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Oh, very
Just
cool.
came out. Couch co-op.
That's
Turn-based
huge.
RPG.
Yeah, awesome.
That game's awesome.
Also, Matt says, side note, keep making us laugh. On the way home from a Taylor Swift concert, my daughter and I listened to the entire Jurassic World Amazon game podcast, and they laughed so hard.
Let's do it again!
Yeah, let's do it again.
I would love to. I reached out to
again.
those guys and hey, what would you recommend we check out next? And they said that the closest to Jurassic World was a Mr. Robot audio game.
What?
I don't know anything about Mr. Robot. I don't know how that would go.
That would be the worst. Oh, man.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All
Let's
right.
do it. Let's do
okay.
it.
At
Right
some
now.
point. There we go.
Right now.
Okay. All right. Trondheim from Norway. Hello, Trondheim. Says, hello. As I was playing Forza Horizon 3, a thought hit me. Would it not be awesome to have a Mario Kart Horizon? I have for a long time wondered where Mario Kart should go next, as I think 8 is the best Mario Kart game ever. Imagine, though, driving around Mushroom Kingdom open world style and find challenges, drifting, green shell shooting challenges, and of course, normal circuit racing. And while doing so, listening to radio stations like Dry Tones, good, with old and new Mario tunes, and talking stations like Peach Speech. These are very good. With Peach talking about her royal life in the castle. Open world Mario Kart, wouldn't that be fun?
I think that's a really good idea.
Something different with Mario Kart?
We can get the rabbits in there too,
Why not?
Let's do it.
But I agree. Mario Kart 8, how do you top that?
You
I
don't.
think it's a cool idea.
You move to open world. That's a good idea.
Open world combined with get all the Smash Brothers characters in there. That's a game over.
I've been thinking they should do that for a long time.
That's bold.
It seems like they're inching in that direction.
They're moving
with
that
the
way.
DLC.
I bet the new one launches with people outside of the normal Mario franchise. Like
Out of the
Link.
gate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
out of
for
the gate.
sure. Like a Link.
One problem with that is I don't think Nintendo would just blatantly copy some other formula.
Right.
They'd have to put their own spin on it. Hey, we came up with this on our own. It's a weird, wacky new thing.
Plus, open
Make the
world.
world with cardboard, and there you go.
There we go.
You could use the vehicle new modular thing. That's fun. Chris Craven from Lafayette, Indiana. Lafayette says, Ben and podcast crew, love the show, but every time the Metal Gear Solid series gets mentioned on the show, the entire crew collectively agrees that Metal Gear Solid 4 is the worst in the series. I don't know. I believe that way, but I don't know if everyone else does. But he says, it's gone on for far too long. It ends here. I'm here to tell you why Metal Gear Solid 4 is obviously the best in the series. That's outrageous, but here's his argument.
Okay, let's put an asterisk on it.
Yep. The gameplay. Phantom Pain aside, Metal Gear Solid 4 has the best gameplay in the series by far. Well, you
can't
put one
aside a game.
Look, that's fine. Keep going, Chris. In the first 3 games, it is so hard to sneak around and take out enemies silently because of the isometric camera and the lack of a crouch. You can run, crawl past enemies unnoticed, but the games don't feel stealthy. 90% of the time, I'm discovered by an enemy I can't see because of the isometric camera. You should play the subsistence version of Metal Gear Solid 3 because that gets rid of that camera. Anyways, the shooting mechanics in Metal Gear Solid 4 are also leagues ahead of the first 3 games. That's true. Navigating a firefight used to be a nightmare because you had to stand still, switch to first-person view, and aim at your enemy. Over-the-shoulder shooting Metal Gear Solid 4 was a godsend. Yes, the shooting is better, but again, subsistence. Anyways, the story. Metal Gear Solid 4's story is amazing. It wraps up just about every loose end in the series and is filled with such emotion and excitement. I teared up during the end of the game, and I don't think and I don't cry during video games or movies very often.
Oh.
I also teared up at the end of 4.
Really?
It is a monumental task to like wrap everything up in some cohesive package, especially coming out at 2. I'd argue it's impossible. I think the story did as good of a job as it could, but you're forgetting about the presentation of the story, which I think is the big beat that still kills me, is the cliched thing of the length of the cutscenes. And it's not even like they're packed full of information. It's an hour-and-a-half long cutscene that you could convey all that information you convey emotionally in 10 minutes. If you just edit that script a little bit.
There
right?
is one chapter, I think it's chapter 3, where if like you skip all the cutscenes, you finish it in like 15 minutes or something.
Chapter 3 is my favorite in that game. The one in Prague where you're like
Yeah.
sneaking around and there's
Oh, I'm not saying the chapter's bad. I'm
I
just
know.
saying it's super short gameplay
Right.
wise. Yeah.
But do you remember in chapter 3 when the guy in the trench coat's following you and
Yeah.
they're all whistling and stuff?
It's really
And
good.
then it goes in the building and it turns out it's 3 of those hand robots stacked on top of each other like a Muppet Man.
Yeah. Wait a minute. It seems like you like Metal
I
Gear
like Metal Gear Solid 4. I just think it's my least favorite of the main line.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I agree. But the monkey that drinks Coke is pretty cool.
what's better
You
gaming
can't
than
top
that? No. Although, he says the locations are also great. Middle East, South America, Eastern Europe, and Shadow freaking Moses. The change in location between every act is very refreshing and keeps the game interesting throughout. Metal Gear Solid 2's Big Shell and Metal Gear Solid 3's jungle environments got a little bit boring after a while. You can't tell me that sneaking around an active war zone in the first act isn't hella cool. It is cool. There's no doubt Metal Gear Solid 4 is
That's all
cool.
right. Yeah.
It's just Metal Gear Solid 4. Maybe someday we'll talk about it in a game club or something.
I'd do that.
Cool.
I would, to his point, I think I'd rather go back to 4 than 3.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, personally. I mean, 3's not a bad game or anything.
Of course not.
I don't know. Something about it, I'm more fond of 4.
I bet you played 3 more, though.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Forrest from Lawrence, Kansas says, "Hey, GI crew. In the last episode, Leo, look alive in Slack over there. I sent you some stuff. Hey, GI crew, in the last episode, you played music from the driving level of Parappa the Rapper. An interesting fact about that song is that it's based off and it's sampling the German experimental rock band Can and their song Turtles Have Short Legs from 1971. This is a deep cut here.
On the break.
On
the break.
Cool song.
Yeah. That's neat.
Do you think that they were clearly inspired by this? Or it's just, it's piano. How many things can you do?
Well, let's hear Parappa's.
Turtles have short legs, not for walking,
wild.
is the core of it. It's close. It's different enough, though. Okay. Hello.
That's pretty damn close.
It is.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah. I wonder if someone's ever remixed it and rapped over that Turtles Have Short Legs song.
It's a really good
I would
idea.
like to hear it. Anyways, we have Carl from Newcastle, Australia.
Whoa, we got a winner.
He says, "Hey, Ben and crew, thanks for a great show." Thank you. After listening to the show last week about Game Over music, it got me thinking about Shadow of the Beast and the Game Over song there. I used to play this game on the Amiga back in the day, and my sister used to watch me play games as we chatted. Even now in our early 40s, we talk about this end song as it reminds us so much of our youth. You want to play this thing, Leo? The Shadow of the Beast Game Over song? Start about 10 seconds in if you could. It's a weird one on the Amiga. Reiner, did you ever play the Amiga?
I did, yeah.
What memories do you have of that thing?
Need for Speed, Test Drive. No, Test Drive. Ultima. Yeah.
Really? On the Amiga?
Yeah,
Ultimate,
yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yes, good memories.
Nice, sexy Game Over song.
Very 80s. I like that.
What console is this again?
Amiga.
Really? It sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's a powerful machine.
Weird. It's a powerful tune. Anyways, Cody Espinoza from Layton, Utah says, "Utah, you're welcome. We'll see." Says, "Hey guys, I love the show. Look forward to it. Thank you. Last week's segment where you played the Total Distortion Game Over song hit me with the giggles more than I'd like to admit. Thank you. Anyway, I should ask a question, so here goes. Do you think it was a bad move for Square Enix to release Dragon Quest XI in the same week as Insomniac's Spider-Man?
No?
I don't know.
Or
Seems
was it
like
a bad move for Insomniac to release Spider-Man in the same week?
Clearly, yeah.
OpenCritic has Dragon Quest review average at a 90. Spider-Man's at an 88.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Plus, Dragon Quest XI's on Steam. That's
Yeah,
a
it
whole
is.
different crowd.
It is a whole different crowd. I'm just saying, like, I'm sure there's some overlap just because Spider-Man has insane mass appeal, right?
Yeah.
But like the hardcore JRPG enthusiast,
Right.
isn't going to be racing to go play Spidey over.
On some level, you're just saying, like, is this a bad idea to release this thing the same week as another thing?
You've got to come out some week.
Yeah,
It might as
yeah.
well be this one. Plus,
Right.
the Tuesday-Friday split, maybe that'll help them a little bit.
Right.
I over Labor Day weekend, I sunk another. Well, I had 25 hours into Dragon Quest XI.
You're hooked.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm
You're
committed to
playing
beating it at this
Really?
point. I really am, Dan.
All right, that's it. I'm in. I was actually on the fence about whether I was going to play it, but if you're
Really?
playing it, liking it, I'll give it a shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
am
can't
liking it.
be
It is-
insulted and play a game that you have not
No,
play a game
that's
that
not
you
really the
understand.
reason. It's just that he finds it very. Usually, he finds it very difficult to game into games that I'm into.
He
and vice
likes
versa.
baby games. Yeah,
This
I
it
agree.
is very
that's not-
simple. It's very old school, Dan. Like,
That's
don't
good.
go in. You didn't finish Persona 5, so I can't
didn't.
imagine.
But
you
I got
finishing.
100. I mean, 80 to 100 hours into it. I didn't
All
finish
right.
it.
Dragon Quest XI is a monster.
I do love. Whenever we have this conversation about like old school Final Fantasy, that's what I like. I like that.
Okay.
So like I want turn-based combat where I just hit things and they die. And I
That
get
is
loot.
Dragon Quest in a
All right.
nutshell.
Well,
Also,
we're
the
going.
enemy designs are so cool looking. Like, the art is all fantastic for the enemies in particular. It just does a lot of very smart things for JRPGs. It's like Ni no Kuni, where it's just very clear about where you need to go next. And it could be seeing as babifying it, but it's just so nice to have that clarity of like, talk to this person, they'll tell you exactly where you need to go. It'll always give you a hint when you open up the map, stuff like that. Dan,
So
it's
it is straight line. I mean,
no, it's not a straight line. Like, there are definitely areas where it's like, feel free to explore, but if you're ever panicking and you're a little bit confused, you can be pointed in the right direction, which is very nice.
So why did you feel like, okay, I can devote my life to this game, but like Persona 5, you weren't able to make it through?
It's a good question. Probably because I have some nostalgia for Dragon Quest.
Oh, interesting.
Whereas Persona, I don't. Even though Persona, I believe, objectively is probably a better game. I don't know. There's something charming about both the Toriyama art, and I really like Dragon Quest V, so I'm getting a thrill out of it. I'm enjoying it. Anyways, we have Pat, a boy from Massachusetts. There we go.
Okay.
Does
saying,
it say that?
Yeah.
It says, I'm a boy from Massachusetts.
Yeah, wanting to be a big boy. I don't
Was
know.
that a Bob Dylan song?
I think so. Hello, Game Informer staff. How many backlog games are too many? And at what point should I admit that I have a problem? I currently have 60 games on my games to beat list.
That's a problem.
This list includes the games on my consoles, blah, blah, blah. Luckily, most of these were free gifts or purchased through Humble Bundle, so it didn't cost too much. But I'm nervous I may actually never finish any of them.
I bet Dan Tech has a lot of thoughts on this.
I'm glad you brought it up. I'd say, what is it? How many is too many? I'd say 2.
2.
Yeah.
Wait, so a backlog of 2 games, you believe in that?
I don't believe you're asking how many is too many.
Right.
And last time we had this conversation, which seems like every freaking time I'm on this show,
Right, it comes
the concept
up.
came up like maybe you're playing through one and you have something else that you have to play on the burner. I'll allow the one.
I'll remind you you're under oath, Dan.
That's correct.
I would say a dozen. That's where it really starts to feel like, oh my God, this is overwhelming because you have multiples of certain genres in there then.
Yes.
But that begs the question, like, how many games do people buy that they never, ever touch?
Yeah.
20%.
I mean, seriously, like, game devs sell games, but nobody ever experiences their work.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
If Steam is involved, I'm sure the number is astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And it's so tempting with their sales and stuff.
Right.
But that's what bothers me is when I start to buy a lot of games and I'm not playing through them. Yeah. So if he has bought 60 games and he hasn't played all those, like, I don't know, that would kind of bother me. Think about all that money you've spent and not.
Right.
It
Even though he
feels like it's
says
kind of
they're a
going to
little
waste.
cheaper end. Okay, how about this for a solution? He listed his 60 games.
Really?
You need to choose what he genuinely needs to cross off
You're
this
really
list.
going to read all those?
Yes. This will be
Wow.
fun. Here we go. Ready? So remember this, everybody.
Okay.
Choose the one that he absolutely needs to get through.
So we pick.
Yes.
We'll
pick the
all
one he
pick
has
one
to
of
get
his games.
through.
Yes.
Okay.
Ready?
To play.
Okay.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
That's it.
No Man's Sky, Infamous Second Son, Fury, Dark Cloud 2, Grim Fandango, XCOM 2, Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Alien Isolation, Valkyria Chronicles, Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2, This War of Mine, Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, Terrorways, Stories, The Path of Destinies, Abzu, Rayman Legends, Bloodborne, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Witness, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Beyond Two Souls, Telltale's Game of Thrones, Telltale's Batman, Ratchet & Clank, the movie, the game, Psycho Pass, Mandatory Happiness, never heard of it, Bound, Knack, Amnesia, Tales of Hysteria, Tales from the Borderlands, Just Cause 3, Transformers Devastation, The Walking Dead Season 2, Borderlands 2, The Handsome Collection, Assassin's Creed Origin, Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, The Division, Dishonored 2, Darksiders 2, Battleword Chronos, never heard of it, Destroy All Humans 1, 2, The Legend of K, Red Faction 1, Super Dungeon Brothers, Book of Unwritten Tales 2, Nier Automata, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Octopath Traveler, FTL, Sonic Mania, Pikmin 3, Earthbound, Super Metroid, Advance Wars.
Well, when you read them all out,
That's a heck of a
like that,
list.
It sounds pretty manageable.
Well,
yeah.
There was one on there twice. Never heard of it. you said multiple times.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I think you should play that
he
one.
should really get
since
through
it's on
that.
the top of your brain.
I'm going with Rayman Legends.
I'm going with Bloodborne, obviously.
All right.
I would say X-Men 2. Yeah, that's right.
XCOM 2.
I'm going Horizon Zero Dawn. It's modern. Play it. Become part of the conversation.
Yes.
Part of it's tough though because we don't know his taste. Like if he
By the
hates
way,
strategy
Bloodborne
games,
is also modern and part of the conversation.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Maybe
That's
more
true.
relevant with Sekiro coming out. Could be a while before that we see that Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Also, if he hasn't played Super Metroid, yeah.
Hey, was that on there?
Yeah, that was like near
It was
the end.
near the end.
It's near the
man,
end.
that's
He snuck it
close.
in there.
Yeah. What do you guys like? Email of the week.
I like the person who said name a game that nobody else at the table's played.
That's
That was fun.
true. That was an interesting idea, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a good one.
I kind of like the backlog one.
It is fun
I've
that
never
he
heard of
actually
anybody
typed
say
all
go
this
through
stuff.
60 games for. Yeah.
It's intense.
I like the game nobody's ever played.
I agree. I
All
agree.
right.
Even though I lost at it, that is Nick from Dover, New Hampshire, on the
Hampshire.
big board. Congratulations.
Seriously,
Sweet.
people play Artifix Monday games and write in next week. Let us know what you think of them.
Some old ass adventure games.
Yep.
They're not. I mean, they're making new ones.
No,
Like I said,
they
I
have
saw
dozens
one-
of them.
I saw one
Yeah.
at PAX. Yeah.
Cool. For now, an interview with Jeremy Saucier over at the Strong Museum. Reeves, we went to Rochester, New York, and checked out the Strong Museum a while ago.
Yeah, almost a month ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. What stood out to you walking those halls?
It was just cool to see like their just massive collection of games, obviously, and we have
Yeah.
a vault here, so you think we'd be a little bit desensitized to it, but it was still
Yeah.
cool to go. And their facility obviously is just like a dwarf star compared to ours, but if that's a good comparison, nope,
What does that
not
even
at
mean?
all.
It's
What?
huge,
Come
and it
on.
also has
It's
just
big.
like it has like warehouses where there's stuff still sealed away, and it's just like random toys too. When you're walking the back halls, which isn't on the museum floor, which is also amazing. You should definitely check it out. But just in the back halls, they just have like obscure toys, just random dolls from 1973 sitting on this shelf
Right.
over here next to a first edition of Dungeons and Dragons over here.
It's like Indiana Jones, the warehouse scene. They kind of pan back. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, what kind of like crazy treasures are hidden here?
Right, including just like old ass pinball tables where they just look bizarre, and you can tell they're from the 50s or something like that. And everyone there that was giving us our tour was so smart. So they just
Oh,
would
yeah.
pause and be like, "Oh, that's the first time Flipper was ever on a pinball table." It's like, what? Like on this table
you
right
just
here?
pass by something random and be like, hey, this is kind of a crazy thing. And they're like, well, this thing was the
Yeah.
first time ever they used a bumper and blah, blah, blah.
Here's
And
why
just
you
like,
should appreciate this and this and this. And
Yeah.
so what we did is you wrote a magazine feature. What
it's
is
in
it
the new
about?
issue.
Okay.
It's in the Call of Duty issue, which we just revealed the cover on. So
Yeah.
it'll be in newsstands pretty soon. It's several pages that kind of highlight some of the weird oddities they have in their collection. We're just scratching the surface too. I can't include them all, but like stuff like Will Wright's notebooks, stuff like the original pitch boards that Atari used to pitch the idea for a Star Wars arcade game.
They were awesome. And in that, by the way, like in the original pitch, they
Yeah.
said, "You pilot Luke Skywalker's Millennium Falcon to take out the Death Star." It's like, well, not quite, but
Pretty
okay.
good. Yeah. One of the weird ones, the oldest things we covered, is an old arcade game from the 1940s where you
1946.
where you
Whoa.
are the bomber in you're dropping atomic bombs on cities.
In 1946, they made this
1946, so
arcade
like
game.
a
1
year
year.
after, yeah.
In production, less than a year. And so,
crazy.
in addition to the magazine feature, we'll have coming up, I think next week we're going to start launching them, but we have 5 videos diving into some of these oddities, like a deep dive on things like the history of atomic bomber.
Right.
Will Wright's notebooks. There's like an over 10-minute video if you're into like just leafing through his notebooks from the 90s. It's super nerdy, deep dive
Right.
stuff. But
Does he have pictures? Do you draw stuff?
yes, he did.
Oh,
Also,
no.
he's crazy
really
into
good, yeah.
horoscopes because he's designing The Sims.
I thought you were going to say crazy into horses, and I was like,
He is crazy into bathrooms, and that really comes through in the notebooks.
It is fun because you'll see like a chart of like here's the personality traits, like a whole chart for the Sims. You're like, I know it looks exactly like it was in the game. And then the next page will be like, hey, remember to call Margaret, and like a list of like here's what to buy at the store. And you're like, oh, okay.
What are you doing, Will Wright? But it turns out to come up with The Sims, you have to doodle a lot and sketch a lot. And
Yeah.
when you're making a game about life, there's a lot to wrap your mind around. So a lot of fun stuff like that. So we have 5 videos that'll be rolling out, and your feature is in the magazine.
And we intentionally we have some crossover there, but there's like stuff I cover that you don't, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to, if you're into this stuff, I would recommend reading the
If you're into
article and
gaming
checking out the
history,
videos.
there's a lot to dive into. And to dive into it right now, with no further ado, here's Jeremy.
Dwarf Star.
Jeremy Saucier, welcome to the Game Informer Show, sir.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
great to be here.
Honored to have you. Where are we right now?
We are in the Strong Museum in Rochester, New York. You're in our iCheg lab, which iCheg stands for the International Center for the History of Electronic Games.
Okay, and off camera, people can't see it, there's a cage with old Mario statues, a bunch of old Apple IIs, everything interesting if you're a video game dork.
Yes, we have a collection, just the video game side of the museum. We have a collection of more than 60,000 games and related objects, and we also have hundreds of thousands of archival materials, so documentation related to the games and the video game industry.
Have you ever had this priced out? Like, how much is it worth?
you can rob the place, Reese? What's going on here?
Oh, theoretically, when are you guys not around?
So when a collections item actually comes into the museum, part of the cataloging process is for us to add an appraisal, and maybe the purchase price if it's something that we've acquired through purchase, or it may be that we have to appraise an item as it comes in. But no, we haven't appraised the entire collection, for what it's worth. But
sure,
yeah.
What does that involve, though? You just look up eBay prices, or like how do you decide like what's this going rate on this thing?
Yeah, so I mean, appraisal is done in a variety of ways, but it's a lot of it is it's establishing what fair market value is, and so if you were to insure something, you'd want to look at what's the higher end of something that if I was to have to replace it. And obviously, there are things at the museum that are not replaceable, which is part of the reason why it's so important for them to be here.
Yeah. Can you just set the scene for the overall Strong Museum? Just what is it? When was it established? What's its goal? What's going on here?
Sure. So the Strong Museum, it's the National Museum of Play, and it's the only collections-based museum anywhere in the world that's dedicated solely to the study and the exploration of play. Now, what that means as a collections-based museum, it means that we care for a collection of objects and documentation, as I noted about video games, but we do that more broadly for playthings. So we care for the world's largest and most comprehensive collection of playthings, nearly 500,000 objects. So everything from toys to dolls to board games to video games we have here at the Strong.
How do you define play? It's going to be so hard.
So it's funny that defining play is actually something that scholars have struggled with for more than 100 years. The most prominent play scholar of the late 20th century, scholar named Brian Sutton Smith, who our library and archive is actually named after, he would talk about defining play, that often when we try to define play, we fall into silliness, right? And it gets at this struggle that we all have. And so in some fields, right? So if you're in neuroscience, you might define play in a different way than if you were in sociology or in anthropology. So sometimes it's based on the field that you're in. But here at the museum, we take a broad view of play. We think about play as being really in the eye of the beholder. So to you, play might be working in your garden. Right. To me, play might be playing with My Little Ponies with my daughter. So I don't think it's impossible, but it creates a large box for us to work with. But it does make it a challenge in terms of documenting and preserving that history.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but you have a stick in your museum.
Not just in the museum; it's in the National Toy Hall of Fame.
Toy Hall of Fame is a stick.
Yes, we
amazing.
And that's not the only stick that's on display. We have several sticks. Yeah, the stick is in the National Toy Hall of Fame, and our National Toy Hall of Fame, just to give a little bit of context, inducts 2 or 3 toys into the Hall of Fame each year. And in the past, it's inducted things that everyone knows, but doesn't necessarily think of as a plaything, like the stick or a cardboard box. I certainly have had the experience of buying gifts for my children when they were little, and then playing with the box for 100%. hours.
Wait, so the cardboard box is also in the Hall of Fame?
the cardboard boxes.
Oh, no.
Kojima would be so happy.
He's very
Yes. So yeah, the stick, the cardboard box, the blanket, right? That these are objects
so smart.
that propel the imagination, right? That a blanket can be, it can, I can play a tea set, and put a blanket down, to play with my daughter or to do a picnic. At the same time, I can tie a blanket, around my neck and be a superhero.
Yeah.
With that Toy Hall of Fame thing, what are those debates like? I mean, are you guys sitting around a boardroom and someone raises their hand and says, what about just like a ball? Just a good vanilla ball, and then people have to argue why the ball
why ball should or not, should not.
It's so absurd.
So, well, the ball is, of course
it's
in the National
it's number
Hall
one
of Fame.
toy.
And in fact, a couple of summers ago, we actually had a ball exhibit called "Have a Ball." It was, and it was a temporary exhibit that focused specifically on the history and the sort of the kind of play, the development of ball play.
That's so.
But yeah, part of that process is, of course, that the public, that people who play with toys, people who are kids at heart, who remember the toys from their childhood, they nominate toys each year, and internally we look at the criteria and bring it down to a group of finalists. And so as part of that, absolutely, there's a lot of discussion. We're certainly very playful here, but you might be surprised at how how dedicated and how emotional that can be sometimes.
I don't think we'd be surprised. We work at Game Informer and trying to argue about the top games of the year everywhere.
We're a bunch of idiots.
It really gets absurd. Like, we almost came to blows when arguing robots versus mechs and what counted as a mech versus a robot.
It was
genuinely
10 minutes.
Pissed, like leaving work angry that day.
You
about
cannot call this a robot. We will get raked over the coals.
You need to be able to climb inside that machinery.
Well, and again, just defining, as you said, what's a toy and what would fit into our conception of a toy. We had similar conversations when we did an exhibit. Right now, we have an exhibit on science fiction play, and boy, getting into conversations about what counts as science fiction.
Oh my God! Because there's those people out there that say Star Wars not sci-fi. Doesn't count.
I am not one of those people, but I definitely had some heated arguments with some of our other curators, our video game curator.
Oh, really? Interesting. Right. How do you guys go about selecting the box that's going in the Hall of Fame? Do you just order something off of Amazon and like, here's a box, or
you mean for like here's our copy of Fallout 4?
Well, just, no.
The cardboard box.
I just meant the cardboard
literally
box.
the box.
Literally the box. Like, it's such a like what's the box that represents all boxes on that display?
Well, so the short answer to that is that often what happens is that in some ways what you're doing when something gets inducted into the Hall of Fame is that you're creating a kind of canon. So when something is inducted into our Hall of Fame, it's then that we need to collect very deliberately around it. And so our curators will identify, it may be that, as you said, an Amazon box is a kind of iconic box, right?
Yeah.
We all shop at it. We all pretty much shop at Amazon, so we've all seen the boxes, and some of them we keep and play with, and other ones go right into the recycling.
You're not running to the recycling after that and be like, wait a minute, you guys are throwing away history. What are you doing?
No, some of that may happen sometimes. Certainly not from me, but on the other side of that is that when you think about objects as each object having a story, right? And so we think of objects that have a provenance, right? So it may be that we have a box that a kid in the Rochester area turned into a spaceship. And having inducted the cardboard box, his parents were like, I wonder if the museum would be interested in taking your cardboard box that you turned into a spaceship.
So strange.
That is cool.
And then also the kind of documentation where, people take photographs of their children playing with boxes, videos on YouTube of kids turning boxes into, to play house, those kinds of things. So there's all kinds of creative ways to document that kind of play.
You guys have so many things. We just went for like a quick tour, so many arcade machines. You got everything you could ever want. Old pinball stuff. Where does it all come from? How does this work?
So our collections come from a variety of places. One thing we should do is a step back here and to say that, so the Strong Museum is currently about play, but it hasn't always been. And the history of the museum is interesting in that it was founded by a woman named Margaret Woodbury Strong. She was from Rochester originally. Because often people will say, like, why a museum of play? Why video games in Rochester, New York? And it really goes back to our founder. And Margaret came from a very wealthy background. Her maternal grandfather had made his money in the buggy whip industry.
Whip?
Yes, the buggy whip industry. Big industry. So she grew up, her childhood, she spent a lot of time traveling the world and she collected things. And so collecting was play for her. But in 1968, she, having built up this collection of toys and dolls from around the world and other items, she went to the New York Board of Regents and asked for a charter for a museum of what she called at the time a museum of fascination. Now, unfortunately, Margaret passed away in 1969, and so she was never able to act really upon the museum in the way that maybe she imagined it. And so if you fast forward to 1982, when we first opened as a museum, we were a museum that was more of a traditional history museum. We focused on a mission that was really to document and explore the impact of industrialization on everyday life in America.
The least fun
between 1865 and 1945.
Specifically between those years?
Yes.
Interesting.
Wow. So that's how the museum started, and so we had these.
And now you have a Mario Maker exhibit. What the hell?
So and all of that is to say that our collection started from Margaret's personal collection of things, which we had this world-class collections of toys and dolls. But when you start a museum, what they had done was brought in consultants who were scholars and museum curators who looked at the collection, and pretty much across the board, they all noted the fact that we had this great collection of toys and dolls, but none of them could really they couldn't imagine a museum that was about play. They couldn't imagine a museum about toys.
Who's going to want to go see this?
Yeah,
There's a bunch of dumb toys. Come on.
How rare are play museums? Is that even a category?
Again, we're very rare because we're the only museum really like this in the world. There have been video game museums that have popped up, and there are more and more that are. Now you're seeing them in Japan, Germany, other parts of the United States, but it's very unique, and it's part of the reason why when we looked, it wasn't simply our CEO at the time saying, let's do something unique. It was really going back. Our CEO at the time, Raleigh Adams, who was really the visionary for this, had really gone back and looked at those initial studies and those consultation reports, and really thinking about, this museum should have been about play all along.
Idiots! What are you guys doing?
It was really him who brought, people at the Strong to really see that vision and bring the community to see that vision.
I'm just curious, just like walking through, like parts of the museum feel a bit like a children's museum because you got like the miniature supermarket and things for people to actually play on, which is cool. Do you guys feel like how do you appeal to kids, but then also adults? Do you feel like adults are like having a good time here too? Are they as interested in toy or play as I would think they might be? As we are,
as you are,
big children.
Yeah. So we come from the philosophy that that we play throughout our lives. Right? That play plays a major part in human growth and development. Right? You think of the time that you're a baby, the way that we first learn about the world, how we explore the world, is actually through play, right? When we're playing peekaboo with our children, when we play, we roll a ball back and forth. You're developing dexterity and even trunk control, and there's physical, there's emotional, language. All that stuff really starts with play. But we know that we play throughout our lives. Now, sometimes as we get older, we play less, and play tends to be associated with children because they have more time. So we joke here at the museum that, of course, you tell people that you work at the Museum of Play, they're like, oh, so you get to play all day. I'm sure you guys get to, you play video games all day long. So, of course, that's not the case. But we offer things in our exhibits that really blend our strengths in our collection. So these artifacts, our interpretation, right? So trying to take these playthings, these games, and talking about sometimes that provenance, so that the importance of that individual item, because it might be that it was something that was used to create an iconic game, or it might be the prototype for Tickle Me Elmo that we have on display downstairs. But it also may be that we want to put it within the context of the history of play, and even a broader context, a broader cultural and social context. So that appeals obviously more to adults, but it's a cross-generational experience. We make all of our exhibits interactive, and we really believe that people come here, and hey, if they want to come and they want to look at the artifacts and they don't play at all, that's okay. If they want to come and they don't read every label, they don't explore every single thing that's written down, or every interpretive interactive, that's okay. Right. And if they play, that's great too, because people learn through play.
It's gonna be so much fun just to not in a creepy way, but like watch everyone go through this museum, and like especially with multiple generations, I'm sure like grandparents are bringing their kids and just like or grandkids and seeing how they split up, like seeing the grandparents go over to like the old Mickey Mouse toy, I'm sure, whereas the kids are running over to Berenstain Bears or whatever the hell is going on over there.
Yes, I mean, and we see it every day. I mean, it really, it's both inspiring, and it's also really gratifying to see that, because on one level it's an educational experience. On another level, it's deeply personal, because I've not met a person who's come here and I've spoken with who hasn't said, well, I had that, or oh, the kid down the street from me had that and I wanted that. Totally. And he never let me play with it.
Now you're going to let me play with it and break the glass.
Finally.
But yeah, we do. We often see, I remember again, as you said, not in a creepy way, seeing a grandparent with her granddaughter looking at some old dolls, and her commenting on, Grammy had this when she was a kid, and her granddaughter actually said, they had toys when you were a kid?
That's so good.
Which her face was just like, great.
That's crazy.
And, but so people come here to have those kinds of experience, but people come here to play with their kids. Totally. Sometimes they just step back, as you were pointing out that we have an exhibit that on really shopping, grocery, a Wegmans grocery store, where it's that sort of role playing, right? The kids who want to do things that are very adult. I take my kids to Wegmans, I put them in the cart, or they walk through, and they want to grab everything, right? They want all the sugary cereals, they want all the, so this actually allows them the ability to do that. And we have the actual cash registers from Wegmans in there, so they get their receipt.
That's so cool that they get a receipt too. I'm sure they love that. You guys have a ton of artifacts, which is cool, but it's fascinating because you guys have stuff that's like, you wouldn't initially think it would be in a toy museum, like you have a computer from John Romero's that he programmed on before he made Doom. So, or like you have like architectural plans, or what looks like architectural plans for pinball machines. So how important is it to you guys to have that stuff that's like not just the artifact, but also the stuff behind the making of it and the creation? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's vitally important, and we really we take a broad approach to collecting. So if we talk about the history of video games in particular, and we take an approach where we look at, okay, we want to have the games themselves, right? There's the physical media. And there's a lot that we can learn from those, right? We can look at the packages, we can look at the media itself, but ultimately, it's the game on that media that is the experience. And so we know that even just having that physical game, eventually that game's not going to work, and so it will be a non-usable artifact. So with all of that in mind, you have to collect other things that help provide you further context. So we have a collection of tens of thousands of magazines like Game Informer and computer, toy industry, video game industry magazines that researchers come and use quite frequently. We also, again, will collect archival items, as you noted, and so we have collections that are more industrial in the sense that they came from a company. So in the case of the pinball playfield drawings, these were a group of drawings that were donated from WMS, who's now owned by Scientific Games, but these were drawings that go back to the founding of the company, right? So if there are anything close to founding documents for Williams, which was a company that innovated in that space, these are those documents. And so it helps to show not only how these games were created, but also the kinds of conversations that happened. Sometimes it's as you see from these pinball documents, where you're seeing people erasing and redrawing things. It's a conversation that's even happening internally with yourself. So we have those kinds of materials. We also have personal papers from people like Ralph Baer, who created the Magnavox Odyssey, really the father of home video games. Also Simon. So we have papers related to his work. Will Wright, Roberta and Ken Williams from Sierra. A number of personal papers and larger company collections. And then also we look at, again, if you cover sort of the physical media, the archival materials, but then eventually you're not going to have the physical to play. And so what we've done is that then we look at digital preservation. And we've done that in a couple of different ways. One being a video capture project where we have gone through and at this point have captured about 4,000 different games spanning consoles and PC from the 70s through the mid 2000s. And this was a grant-funded, a government-sponsored project that we did.
I love the idea of having that much pressure on the person capturing the gameplay. Like, all right, this is the historical documented version of Frogger.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations.
Don't look like an asshole.
We had a lot of conversations about that. It's like, how do you capture? What does it mean to capture the essence of Pac-Man versus the essence of civilization, which is this much longer game. So it's so that was certainly a challenge. We were really trying to develop a systematic approach to how do you do this, and if a museum was to try to do this with their collection, how would you go about doing that? And then lastly, we look at migration of digital media and the preservation of source code when we have it. And so sometimes that's migrating stuff from digital media, sometimes that's preserving printouts of source code.
I want to know how you get this stuff. Like you mentioned earlier that Romero was just wandering the museum late at night.
No,
he's checking out He's checking out the museum. Then he's like, "Oh, you guys should have my Apple too. That'd be so cool." Yeah. I mean, is it a lot of just those weird off-the-cuff things? Is it someone coming by and saying, like, I used to work for Activision. I think I have some source code lying around. I'll just give it to you. Like, how loose is that donation process? And what are you hunting down? Like, what's the ideal case that you want to bring in?
Yeah, and I mean, it's really it's a combination of things. There's a there's we approach it from really a systematic way. So our curators think about what are things that are gaps in our collections, what are major things that have happened in the video game industry that we want to document, and so we may look to reaching out to certain people. So both internally, you have people who are kind of systematically looking at that, but then externally, as we've grown, we've had tremendous support from people who have really wanted to see their documentation or their games preserved. So sometimes it's a person who Doug Carlson, for instance, who one of the founders of Broderbund. He donated a collection of pretty much one of every single thing that Broderbund ever published.
Wow.
So several thousand games, but also his personal papers that really showed this kind of, it was this time capsule of the industry at that moment.
Yeah.
But then you have collectors, right? Collectors play a really important role because if you look at the history of museums, across the world, oftentimes collectors value things before museums. Usually museums catch up.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
And so before a museum comes along to collect playthings, of course there have been people collecting toys and dolls and even video games before us. And so collectors play a really important role in that, we're always in conversation with collectors who are, hey, I have these kinds of materials, I have, these games, I really would love to see those be preserved, I'd really love to see those be part of the museum. So it's really, I think, the work internally of the museum staff, who does a tremendous job seeking out and filling in gaps in our collection and looking at what things really we need to have, creating relationships with people in the industry, right, and finding those opportunities where someone like John Romero says, hey, I want the Apple II that I started programming on, here in the Strong, and then the collectors who have who have found those things and found value in them before others.
What's too small for the museum? Like, I'm imagining some game designer walking through and being like, you know what you need? You need my notebooks. And it's like, all right, dude. Like, you programmed on Madden 96 for half a year. Like, I think we're good. Like, but will you just take everything like that?
Well, I think the short answer is all of that stuff is a conversation.
Okay.
When you first said what's too small for the museum, it was funny because the first thing I thought was like, we have thousands of pieces of miniature furniture that go into dollhouses. So there's nothing really too small for the museum. But if you've worked on a game and you've participated in creating a game, there's a story and you're part of that history. So one thing that I hope you'll have the opportunity to talk with our video game curator, my colleague who leads our Women in Games initiative. One of the things that we really wanted to look at there is that women have been a part of the game industry since the very beginning, and it goes back to the 19th century where you've got women creating some of the most popular games like the Game of Authors, so women have been a part of that, but also you've had women who have worked on factory floors. You had women who, if you come to an exhibit that we have out right now on jigsaw puzzles, there are many women who hand cut jigsaw puzzles. So women had important roles in marketing, in sales. So across the board, there are peoples whose stories and whose materials help us get a richer, more full, and inclusive history of video games. I think that's what we're always striving for. So it's not just a game design centric and auteur sort of view of video games. It's thinking about it also as it's a production, and even thinking too, how do we document what players, how people are playing these games, the cultures around that, which is a monumental challenge. If it's not challenging enough to try to document, purely digital games and all these other things. So I guess to answer your question, I don't know if there's anything too small, but it's always worth a conversation. Obviously, if you come in with your, with a copy of your cartridge of Pac-Man from the 2600, we have many copies of that, and we would probably evaluate it and say, okay, this isn't in better condition than what we have. And
I got my personal notebook has some Serious Sam notes on it from E3. Like, do you want to display this maybe next to the
Just right on top computer, just covering Romero's computer. I think is the ideal spot.
Hey, I someday there may be a Game Informer exhibit, right? We could do an exhibit about game journalism, right?
I'll let you stuff Ben Reed and put him in that exhibit.
If you think about the importance that game journalism plays in both, communicating, what's happening in the industry, but also actually in contributing to gaming culture. I mean, so much of what the magazines tell us when we go back is they do help us get at how are these games played. I mean, Nintendo Power was created out of, Nintendo itself and trying to reach the audience of their players and so as a sort of tool of marketing, but also communication.
Is the overall lesson, and this mainly for people in the video game industry for your case, I guess, but just overall, like, hey everybody, just document everything. Don't ever throw anything away. Create like a very careful index of everything you have, no moments too small for your entire life. Is that the takeaway here?
I don't think that that I can ask those things. I think realistically, we all have jobs, and my job, at least part of my job, is to help collect, preserve, and interpret the history of electronic games. But I realize that someone working at Activision or a game designer or someone working on the factory floor of Williams Pinball in 1946 or 47 isn't necessarily their first priority is not to document the things that they're doing for generations to be able to study. And so understand that, we understand that. And so while at the same time that we would say, hey, please don't throw that away, we also understand that, you're not going to keep everything. And that, you can come to us with a box of materials, we can have a conversation about a truckload of materials, which is actually, we have a collection of Atari coin-op materials, things that are basically the corporate records left over from Atari's coin-op divisions, and that came on a tractor trailer, 23 pallets of materials. And so, so there's a wide range of things that
there's that story out there though, like the people who found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they like took them and they burned some of them that night to like cook their food.
Oh,
like
really?
So there's probably there's stuff like similar of equal significance and historical value for video games that are probably like, people don't recognize what they have, and they're not obviously going to treat it with any kind of like reverence.
Right.
So like there's got to be that fear in your mind.
Like even if like Ralph Fair's kids like didn't give a crap, about his job. Thankfully they did, and then you had that wonderful exhibit because of that,
Yeah, and I mean, I think in any, in any cultural heritage area, you have to imagine that there's going to be acceptable loss, right? Now, and it depends on the person. Jason Scott at the Internet Archive is very much of like, save everything, digitize everything.
Isn't his motto steal from work as well?
Steal from work,
Just a very good motto.
So people have different, different approaches and different perspectives on this. But I think as a historian, I take a really long view of things, and so as you're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, I mean, if you think of, some of the stuff that we're dealing with when we start to think about ancient civilizations, we're looking at archaeological evidence, right? We're making guesses about the way that something operated and the way that people lived based on the evidence that we have. So now we have, if we take video games as an example, we have sort of this dual problem of in the modern age, there's so much information that how do you, back to your question of anything so small? Well, to look at everything in our archive would take months and months and years.
Oh gosh, we better get started.
So you have the problem of there's sort of information overload because we're all dealing with just the amount of every email, every text message, every time you do something, but also at the same time that all of that is also very ephemeral, right? And that to some people there's this sort of false sense that it's on the internet, so it's out there and it will be there, and someone digitized it and put it out there. So just because something's on YouTube doesn't mean that 100 years from now, we're going to have that video.
Right.
It may not mean that 3 years from now, we'll have that video.
Are you guys working with other museums then to kind of like tag team for some of this stuff, or do you ever feel, I know the Smithsonian has their video game guys and there's the video game museum guys in Texas. Do you guys feel that, or do you ever coordinate with those guys like, hey, we should preserve this, you guys preserve that? Or does it ever feel like a competition? Like, oh, we got Will Wright's notebooks and the Smithsonian got the, Well, it doesn't get quite that, we don't have those kinds
We're burning them to cook our food, Texas.
No, I think that that we all work kind of separately, but we're all aware of what we're doing, and so I think I can speak for myself and ourselves as an institution that we identify what are the things that we do well, what are the things that we can do better at, and so sometimes it's you specialize in certain areas, and it's also that we take different perspectives, right? The National Video Game Museum, their focus is on video games, and in a particular, they may have an interpretive focus that is different than ours, right? We're broadly looking at the history of play. So the lens that we see through all the artifacts, all the objects and the documentation in the museum is through this lens of play, whereas the Smithsonian is really looking from technology, and other museums will take various perspectives. So so a lot of it is approaching sometimes the same subjects, but in different ways. But I don't. We certainly don't. We all talk to each other, but we certainly don't get on the phone and say, "Hey, we got Will Wright's notebooks."
But there's never like a bidding war or something for like a rare artifact that comes along.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, really? Okay. So you guys are you're expanding out the museum in a big way.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're going to have what exactly is going to be in the huge new exhibit? What is that thing?
So we are currently working on a 100,000 square foot expansion, and it's part of a larger project where we have this just incredible opportunity to transform a city neighborhood. And within that 100,000 square feet, we will have a new kind of welcome center into the museum, but also we'll have two major exhibits. One that will be the home of the World Video Game Hall of Fame, and so it'll be an interpretive gallery that looks at video games and their impact on culture and society, and then also a second exhibit that will be more of an immersive video game, right? So that you are going into and you're doing physical things that are, so maybe you're solving puzzles, you're playing a shooter game, but you're doing it physically, so that it's a sort of immersive physical and digital experience.
It's like you're in the movies, Reese.
Oh,
It'll
perfect.
Like that. Wait, so are you moving all your video game
set.
stuff to this new wing, or I'm confused about like what the Hall of Fame for video games, how that would really differentiate itself from the wonderful video game exhibits you already have.
Yeah, so to help you contextualize this a little bit, when we moved to a play mission in 2003, when the museum became about play, we realized pretty quickly that we were not collecting video games in a serious, systematic way. We had a few dozen video games, even though we knew and we could see that video games were changing the way that we played, changing the way that we learn, we connect with each other.
And I imagine a lot of people are coming in for the video games,
Right, and so at that time, that's where we founded our International Center for the History of Electronic Games in 2009, and then later on in 2015, we would then sort of expand our footprint in that area with the World Video Game Hall of Fame. So our exhibits now, which we have a number of exhibits, our eGame Revolution exhibit, which focuses on the history of electronic games. We have Pinball Playfields, which gets at the history of pinball. And then also we have other exhibits that feed into, that help us understand and contextualize video games. What this will do is provide a sort of expansive view of video games. So not everything will necessarily disappear from the rest of the museum, because what we are at our core is about play. And so part of that is understanding that video games are both revolutionary, but they're also evolutionary. And that when we play Halo or play Doom, is it fundamentally a different play than when you're kids and you're playing cops and robbers in the backyard?
Right.
Is the text-based adventure and the adventure games that we play later, is that fundamentally different than the choose-your-own-adventure books that we read and the kinds of adventures that we played in our neighborhoods? Pac-Man is a chase game. It's like playing tag. And so all of our exhibits are going to help to tell that story. We play in a variety of ways, but the new expansion will focus primarily on that. But I should mention too that we'll be creating, at the moment we have a garden outside of the museum where we talk about outdoor play, but we will, in order to build a massive parking garage, we will need to relocate the garden, and we're going to create an entirely new outdoor play space.
Okay.
Right. So for those who really aren't very interested in video games, at least not in playing them, maybe they can come here, they can play outside, learn about nature play, playing in the outdoors.
Right. Or even the parking garage can be fun.
Oh, yes. I love
a lot of kids love
and we will have a very playful parking garage.
Okay,
I
I think
promise
you should add that to the Hall of Fame, parking garage.
parking garage.
One of my favorite.
If you'd like to nominate that to the National Toy Hall of Fame.
Every year you come in with parking garage. It's not going to work.
Come on.
What's like the ideal takeaway for, like, let's say a family leaving the museum? What do you want them to think other than, boy, some things sure are fun?
Well, certainly we want them to walk away feeling that they had a good time. Absolutely. If you come to a museum of play and you leave and you didn't have fun and you didn't have an opportunity to play, then we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So everyone, we want to come away feeling that way. If they learn about the importance of play and the benefits of play throughout our lives, if they learn something about the history of play, then that's fantastic. As you probably know, in schools today, we spend a lot of time on academics. We spend less and less time playing. Recesses have gotten shorter. There are some communities, certainly in the United States, where kids don't go out and play recess. And so in many communities, play is sort of under attack in some ways. And so that idea that play is really central to who we are as human beings, and that it plays such an important role in who we become, and that we continue to do it throughout our lives, whether it's playing cards at the senior center, or as we all saw when Nintendo released the Wii, and the popularity of Wii bowling and those sorts of bowling leagues that arose. And I think those are the things that we want to get across. We want people to play together. We want them to love playing.
Yeah, there we go.
Great.
Hey, Jeremy, thank you for your time.
Thanks for your time, man.
Appreciate
You're very
it.
welcome.
Cool. This is a weird place to close the show, but thank you for watching and listening to the Game Informer show. We'll have a new episode for you next Thursday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, here.
This is literally just Breaking Bad.
Can you save Matt real quick? Hurry up. Get over there, Javy.
No.
Javy, get over there. Are you crazy? He's our best bet.
I'm okay with him dying.
What? You
It's Javy. What do you expect? You should expect him to wander out in the woods and die alone and contribute nothing.
That's harsh. I saved your life.
He's got plenty of time. He's just waiting for you. You're doing nothing.
Javy's literally sitting in a room right now.
Javy, you're such an ass.
It's really depressing.
Fine, I'll try. I guess.
Well, what are you gonna do instead? Sit in the house?
Matt,
Yes.
you're welcome to complain about JV being a real turd.
Yeah.
I don't think I can get there in time.
We do all the time.
like that out there.
Yeah.
I don't think I can get there.
Yeah, because you wasted 38 seconds.
I did not waste 38 seconds. I wasted 15 at most.
There is one.
I got a better gun actually. I just got a gold paladin, so I'll be good with that. I hear him trying to find
I understand, you're pretty busy. Go, dude, get on that four-wheeler and go.
How have you not gotten him up yet? What is happening?
He's driving the opposite direction.
Someone assaulted me. What do you mean there's a graveyard there?
This dude has been bleeding out for like 15 minutes.
Hey, no he hasn't. You're just saying that to make me feel
It's
bad.
been a really long time.
Oh,
Wow.
He's fine, I'll
No.
get there.
that's
He's
brutal.
Dead. He's dead because
God, that sucked.
he's dead because good men did not act.
At least you should see a zombie. I haven't seen a zombie yet here.
Oh, there were zombies in there.
I didn't see
shot
one.
quite a few.
Did you?
Yeah, and a person.
Hey Matt, was there anything useful in your corpse?
Jesus Christ.
That's it. Just don't let this guy near this game again.
I'm just saying I'm alive and you guys aren't.
Yeah.
Man,
So-
that sucks.
Because, team play is part of that survival thing.
You're playing a lot better than Matt would have, so I'm glad you didn't go revive him.
I'm impressed by the amount of time that he just wait.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. That was strategic.
He sort of like pretended to go try to get him.
Right. Well, to be fair, he was
I
pretty
made
busy.
an honest effort to go save Vad.
No.
If he had just
No, you
held
didn't.
out 2 more
You were
seconds.
sitting in a room. Check the tape. You were literally just
It
sitting
was
in a room.
30 seconds of you saying, this looks like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I don't hear him complaining about it.
Yeah, because he's trying to be polite because he doesn't know you. He's a killer. This is a lovely home. Multi-bathroom.
This place for Breaking Bad.
He's behind you, yo. He's behind you, yo. So keep going forward.
JV, you're fucking dreaming if you think some idiot's gonna walk by that one window.
It's painful to watch, actually.
It really is excruciating. Imagine if you made the game.
Why are you being dicks?
JV, no one's coming in this goddamn house.
Hanson, to be fair, this is one of your strategies.
Oh, this is what I'd be doing 100%, but not if Treyarch was watching me.
Right.
We'd rather be dead. JV was just being a poor teammate.
Are they still
How am I being a poor teammate? I'm still alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Our point.
Exactly.
And our best player's dead. What happened?
Why are you guys dicks?
You started it.